Recording in progress.
Ready to go.
All right, good evening, everyone. Returning from closed session, we have nothing to report? Okay, great. I'll call our regular session to order today on May 11th, 2026. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Present.
Dowden Calvillo.
Present.
Holmes is absent this evening. Councilmember Riddell Harris.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here, thank you very much. Councilmember Riddell Harris, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure, happy to. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we've got a couple commendations here tonight. If we can start with...
Madam Mayor, could I say a quick thing first?
Yes, of course.
So I just wanted to, since I was the one who put these on the agenda, I just wanted to say a quick little thing before we start with our commendations for Mr. Lawrenson and also Mr. Wilkinson. I am a student of the music department at Colfax High School, and I know many other people who have been at Placer High School who have experienced Mr. Lawrenson. I had the pleasure of having Mr. Wilkinson, and just the impact that our music teachers have had, not on just their students, but on the whole community, is just really felt by everyone. And so when I heard that both of them are retiring this year and the same year, we needed to make sure that we recognize them. So I just wanted to let you all know that's the reason why we're recognizing them this evening.
Thank you. And we'll start tonight with Mr. Lawrenson. If you can join me up at the podium. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. All right, City of Auburn commendation honoring Mr. David Lawrenson on the occasion of his retirement. Whereas Mr. David Lawrenson grew up in Connecticut and graduated from Newtown High School before earning a Bachelor of Music in Music Education from the University of Puget Sound and a Master of Music in Music Education and Conducting from Western Washington University. And whereas Mr. Lawrenson dedicated 19 years to teaching music in Washington State before joining Placer High School in 2006, where he has spent the past 20 years building and sustaining a highly successful music program rooted in perseverance, passion, and a deep commitment to students. And whereas, under his leadership, students were provided opportunities to perform and compete in a wide range of ensembles while participating in cherished community traditions such as the Festival of Lights, the Veterans Day Parade, and collaborations with local schools, fostering musical excellence, confidence, teamwork, and a lifelong appreciation for the arts. And whereas his dedication to excellence in education has been recognized through numerous honors, including Auburn Chamber of Commerce Teacher of the Year, Teacher That Makes a Difference, Veterans of Foreign Wars Teacher of the Year, and consistent superior ratings at the Golden Empire Music Festival, reflecting his lasting impact on generations of students and the Auburn community. And now, therefore, I, Kelly Davis, Mayor of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, hereby recognize and honor Mr. Lawrenson for his outstanding career in music education and his lasting impact on generations of students and the Auburn community, and extend our sincere congratulations and best wishes on your well-earned retirement. Congratulations. We're going to do a quick picture with all together.
I will.
Mr. Wilkinson, could you come up? And you have to hang out because you have to do the last part.
Hello. I'm going to give a plug because I'm also a Colfax grad, but I didn't sing.
She didn't spend 4 hours a day with you, so. Okay, so honoring Mr. Todd Wilkinson on the occasion of his retirement. Whereas Mr. Wilkinson has dedicated 34 years to music education as the music director and choir director at Colfax High School, inspiring generations of students through his passion, leadership, and commitment to excellence in the performing arts. And whereas since February 1992, his leadership of the chamber choir and choral ensembles has resulted in 25 consecutive gold ratings and 8 Most Outstanding Choir awards at Heritage and World Strides festivals, bringing distinction and pride to Colfax High School and the surrounding community. Whereas, through 29 concert tours, including a landmark performance at the prestigious Carnegie Hall in 2019, Mr. Wilkinson elevated local arts community to the global stage and provided students with extraordinary opportunities for artistic growth and cultural enrichment. And whereas, in addition to his accomplishments as an educator and conductor, Mr. Wilkinson has demonstrated exceptional creativity as a composer, including his work on the original musical, The Trial of Juanita, further enriching the cultural and artistic life of the community. Whereas, through his career, Mr. Wilkinson fostered a supportive and inclusive environment where students of all experience levels were encouraged to develop their musical talents, build confidence, work collaboratively, and cultivate a lifelong appreciation for music and the arts. And whereas his unwavering dedication as an educator, mentor, and leader has left a lasting legacy in the lives of thousands of students and has strengthened the cultural fabric of Colfax and the greater Placer County community. And
now, therefore, I, Mayor Kelly Davis, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and honor Mr. Wilkinson for his outstanding career in music education, his extraordinary contributions to students and the community, and extend our sincere congratulations and best wishes on your well-earned retirement. Congratulations.
sure. Okay, we have a couple more proclamations. The first one is recognizing the 175th anniversary of Auburn as the Placer County seat. Whereas the city of Auburn was originally designated as the county seat of Placer County on May 26, 1851, during the height of the California Gold Rush, marking a pivotal moment in the region's early civic and governmental development.
And whereas Auburn's central location, growing population, and importance as a hub for commerce, transportation, and public life made it a natural choice to serve as the center of county governance. And
for 175 years, Auburn has remained the seat of Placer County government, serving generations of residents through its courts, administrative offices, and public institutions. And
whereas Auburn's rich history, preserved landmarks, and the continued commitment to community service reflect the enduring legacy of those early pioneers who helped shape the region. And whereas
this 175th anniversary provides an opportunity to celebrate Auburn's historic role in Placer County while recognizing the contributions of residents, leaders, and public servants, past and present, who have strengthened the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Kelly Davis, Mayor of the City of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, does hereby recognize and celebrate the 175th anniversary of Auburn being named the Placer County seat, and encourages all residents to reflect on the city's proud history and continued role as the heart of Placer County. There you go. And We'll be presenting this tonight to our historian, our city historian, Carol Kramer. If you want to come up, do you want to say anything?
I love that she's in period wear. Look at this.
From 175 years ago.
I would just like to say, I hope most of you will be able to join us on the actual date that we became the county seat, which is Tuesday, May 26th, from 5:30 to 6:30. We will have a special program for you, explaining why this occasion was so momentous to the development of Auburn, California. Without this happening, history probably would have been a lot different. So I hope you're able to join us on that night. I don't need a phone. Unless you want a photo. I don't need a photo.
Okay. Get back here, Carol.
24th and 31st.
Yeah.
We'll be well recognized after this.
I can have our building official, Mr. Pinola, and permit technician, Amy Franklin, join me. Hi. Thanks. Hi. All right, this proclamation is to recognize Building Safety Month. Whereas May is recognized nationally as Building Safety Month, an annual campaign led by the International Code Council to raise awareness about the importance of modern building codes, safe construction practices, and the critical role building departments play in protecting public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas the City of Auburn Building Division performs the often unseen work that occurs before a building is ever occupied. From plan review and permit issuance to inspections and code enforcement, each step helps ensure structures are built to withstand hazards such as fire, severe weather, seismic activity, and unsafe conditions. And whereas this month also recognizes the partnership between the Building Division, Fire Department, Public Works, design professionals, contractors, and residents in maintaining a safe and resilient community, while continuing to adapt to evolving construction practices and state regulations. And whereas Building Safety Month serves as a reminder that permits and inspections are not just administrative requirements, but essential safeguards that help ensure homes, businesses, and public spaces are safe for current and future occupants. And whereas, as development continues throughout Auburn, the Building Division remains committed to supporting safe growth, protecting the built environment, and providing responsive and reliable services to the community. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Kelly Davis, Mayor of the City of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize May 2026 as Building Safety Month in the City of Auburn, and encourage residents, builders, and businesses to support building safety in our community. Thank you. All right, team. One more.
Okay, Sean, you have to share the pictures with us. Are we all gonna, yeah.
With 175 years, we need to make sure our buildings are very safe.
All right, moving on now to the adoption of the agenda. This is the time set aside for council members or for the public to ask for removal, postponement, or a change to the listed sequence of an agenda item. The agenda will be approved by consensus of the council. Do we have any requests from council?
For the agenda.
Agenda? Any requests from the public? Seeing none, the agenda stands. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless persons request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the motion to approve the consent calendar. I will be removing item 2.
Item 4, please.
Item 4. Any others? No?
Nope.
No.
I am. Don't worry. Do we have a motion to approve the,
I move we approve the consent agenda minus item 2 and 4.
I'll second.
all right, any public comment? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. And item 2, it's not to cause any alarm. I just wanted to recognize the 5 other applicants. I read through the applications and just wanted to say that everybody who applied had excellent credentials and to not be discouraged for not receiving this placement, but to, continue finding a place in the city because I was very impressed. So with that being said, I move to approve the appointment by resolution to appoint Melissa Johnson to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Did we take
Any
public comment on
public
this
comment?
item?
Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Amara.
Aye.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Why don't we,
I can skip
We're
him.
approving the planning commissioner.
Perfect. Councilmember Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye, thank you. And item number 4?
yes, so I wanted, before we go to item number 4, I just wanted to say thank you for recognizing those individuals. I actually was going to reach out to them and send them an email. I really appreciated the fact that we had so many people that were interested in Planning Commission. I think that that's like a record number in a long time. We've had so many people that expressed interest, and I love that about Auburn, that people want to get involved, and we had some really great applicants. So thank you very much for those who applied. Yes, I just asked to remove item number 4. There were some questions, and I know that it resulted in a generation of an amendment to that item. And so just for the purposes of the record, Menjel, would you just reiterate exactly what we're going to be voting on today?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Menjel Dean, Public Works Director. So when the report was initially wrote, I had some erroneous information in there. Today, we are only looking to establish the 3.21% increase, which is just the cost of living increase for this. There's no additional changes to it beyond that.
Thank you very much. That was really just, I just wanted to go on the record to say that that's the only thing that we're looking at today is just the COLA for the purposes of the agreement, that we would have to go out for negotiation of a new contract in order to consider any other kind of increases at this time. So thank you very much. And that was all that I had. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd be happy to make a motion that we would authorize the city manager to take the actions that are stipulated on the agenda.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Aye.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye?
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving now to public comment. This is the time provided so that the public may speak to the council on any item not on this agenda. Please make your comments as brief as possible, not to exceed 3 minutes. The council cannot act on items not included on this agenda. Items may be referred to staff or placed on future agendas. Do we have any public comment from council?
No.
I just wanted to let everyone know that the 14th is Kiddapalooza at Regional Park. So if you've got some kids that would enjoy going out and seeing all the cool tables they've got going on, normally they have some fun music things. There's lots of interactive activities. Normally public safety's out there as well. So that's from 4:30 to 7 on Thursday. Also on Saturday, May 16th from 9 to 4, there's going to be an event. Spring Fest is happening in downtown, and so the Youth Commission will have an event there. We're going to have a jewelry exchange, so if you've got any cool old jewelry hanging around, feel free to bring it over to our booth. We're going to be doing a jewelry exchange and a karaoke area, and then we're also going to have a Youth Choice Award. So if you have a youth in your household who wants to vote on the best places to hang out or eat or things around town. So bring them on over to our booth. We're going to be right next to the Hillmont.
Can you remind us of that date again?
That's the 16th,
Of
Saturday.
May 16th?
Yep, it's coming up this Saturday, and it's going to be from 9 to 4.
Downtown.
Downtown, yeah, Upper Lincoln Way, they're going to have there's going to have tons of booths and stuff going on.
Springfest, got
Yep.
it. Thank you.
All right, do we have any public comment? Seeing none. All right, next we have a public hearing. And let's see, City Council, we will open this with a presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. This is going to be a brief presentation. The city's existing entertainment zone in Old Town downtown have been positively received. I know that we've been communicating with our law enforcement folks, and so far it's been economically beneficial, but not to the hindrance of any issues that we've seen out there, the hindrance of law enforcement. Based on this success, local merchants have expressed interest in expanding the program, including more operational days and the creation of an additional zone. The proposed ordinance responds to those interests by establishing a third entertainment zone along Huffman Avenue at its intersection with High Street. Due to the physical separation, the creation created by the state highway, there's no feasible way to incorporate it into the downtown zone, making the creation a distinct third district zone the most practical solution. Staff noted that this item was noticed as a public hearing in order to offer nearby residents and businesses the opportunity to comment. In addition to the expanding geographic scope of the program, the ordinance includes several operational improvements. During implementation of the ordinance, staff identified limitations that adversely excluded widely celebrated events such as St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, and so forth, so they would be incorporated into operational days. This corrects that oversight, as well as provides for an annual participation requirement whereby businesses must reapply each year to remain in the program. So, quick background for those of you that don't know, the entertainment zones are areas that are designated by the city in which the local bars and restaurants that participate in the program and that are in the designated areas are able to supply to-go adult beverages to patrons of those districts. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there any public comment?
Good evening, Mayor Davis, Council. My name is Chris Haupt. I am co-owner of Two Asp Brewing Company, and my fellow owner is here in the audience as well, Chris Bartow. We are a neighborhood brewery. What does that mean? Being part of the neighborhood, being part of the community is really important to us. Of course, we brew beer, but beyond that, what's really important is supporting events that our fellow members in the community, in the immediate neighborhood and throughout the city can partake. Whether you drink alcohol or not, we like to have events that can, everyone can enjoy, whether that's music or games or other things. One of the things that this addition to this extra zone may help with is we also like to support a number of our nonprofits by having different kinds of events. We have an event coming up at the end of May with the Auburn Trail Alliance, the Bike Month celebration. If this zone were in effect in the future years, one of the things that this would allow us to do, along with our friends over at Old Town Pizza, is to support this event without needing extra special ABC permits, allow people to more freely move back and forth, and also still frequent our place or Old Town Pizza. So we think this could really help with that kind of event. We don't have a lot of events throughout the year, but we would like to make it easier so we could support different organizations in town with these kinds of activities. So I want to vote for my definite support for this activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Do we have any council comments or questions?
I do, just, I'm just checking in with staff. I have not heard any complaints about the program, so I'm just wondering if we've heard anything at all, any grumblings or?
None whatsoever.
That's great to hear. I know that we have other jurisdictions nearby that are looking to Auburn and wanting to know how this is working out for us. I keep saying it's, working out very well. We haven't had any complaints. And so, but thank you. That's great. Good to hear. Very supportive.
My only comment is that I'm very supportive. I think that's a great idea. And I'm hoping someday we can connect Old Town and downtown with Josephine in the middle and the tavern. But anyway, this is a great start to expansion, and I truly believe that having the extra days for the holidays is very important.
St. Joe's.
All right. Okay to move forward with a motion, Madam Clerk? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye, motion passes. All right, moving on to council business. These items include discussion and/or action by the city council. First up, we have intention to levy annual assessment fee for business improvement districts.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Christina Schaefer, Finance Analyst. This item before you is the annual action of intent to levy Business Improvement District assessment fees. These fees support both the Downtown Business District and the Old Town Business District, and they remain unchanged year over year with no proposed changes. If approved, the next step in this process will be a public hearing to adopt the fees, currently scheduled for June 22nd, where all interested parties may comment for or against the item. Tonight's notice of intent also includes a required annual report and proposed work plan, which will be presented by each business district representative. These reports are intended to highlight how the collected fees are used, as well as the planned use for the upcoming year. I will pass the presentation first to the Old Town Business Association, followed by the Downtown Business Association.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Kat Ike, President of the Old Town Business Association. Do I start with what we've been doing this year? Okay.
And if you wouldn't mind just talking into the mic, or you might
Sure.
need to move it up a little bit, just so
Okay.
that we can hear you better.
I usually have issues with this, so I apologize. I'm not very good.
No
Okay.
worries.
I would say the theme for Old Town this year would have been streamlining. We worked really hard on partnering with the Downtown Business Association to unify the Explore Auburn. We worked with Matt Eversole from Jump Ramp Media to strengthen our online presence, which actually got 25% more followers than last year. So we've seen a big increase. Hopefully people are seeing our events more often and in the know of what's going on in Auburn. The second thing that was really exciting that we executed was our beautification and enhancement. We worked with the city to get the vacant building owners to improve the buildings. If anybody has seen Maribel's and Happy Hour has had momentum, so we're trying to make sure that our relationship with them is healthy and positive so that we can keep everything going and possibly get somebody to rent it. Yeah. That was actually a lot for the year. It doesn't sound like that much when I say it out loud, but it was a lot.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, do you
Any
guys have any
questions?
questions?
Yeah, you mentioned the Explore Auburn, and it's great. They have more followers now. Is it? Have you had businesses say that it helps, you think, attract people and actually increase business?
I do, especially the businesses that have had the opportunity to be
Highlighted.
on Explore Auburn.
Uh-huh.
We're actually having a hard time getting the businesses to plan with Matt so that we can make that happen. But the ones that have been on there do see it a lot, and people have just been saying that town is more busy in general. So I hope that that's part of a reason why.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have downtown? Ah,
There's a familiar face.
Madam Mayor, City Council, I'm Lisa Henderson, and I am the treasurer with the DBA. So our completed task this year, we worked with the city to do the signage, and aren't they beautiful? They're so pretty.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
We hosted Cruise Night. It started last Friday, is the first one that we had this year. We hosted the Auburn Wine and Food Festival in October. We did the Christmas tree lighting in Central Square and had Santa. We had kids lined up to visit Santa. And we did free photographs if they wanted it, no charge. We finished the light up the Christmas tree tower. We are also hosting currently is the Spring Festival that will be from 5 to 9 this Saturday. We also started our Music in the Square 2 weeks ago, and Sandy was instrumental in helping that happen. This year we plan on refreshing the holiday wreaths. We're going to continue to plant daffodils. We've been working with the UTMB to do a mini brew fest. We did that 2 weeks ago for the Canyons race. That was exciting. We also are working with Old Town, the Chamber, to do an integrated marketing as a single Auburn page for a Placer and Sacramento Regional Tourist Wine and Ale single trail publication. We collaborated with the city in replanting trees, tree planters, and grates along City Way, and we are currently in the process of upgrading our trash cans. That's it. Any questions?
any questions?
Sounds like a lot of great projects.
Thank you, Sandy.
I just wanted to say to both of the organizations, I love the joint marketing.
It's wonderful.
It was so hard
Yeah.
before when there were two different websites and trying to figure out events, and now we have coordinated with the city too. So it's so nice to not hear about events after they already happened. I love being able to go to everything. So I appreciate all your hard work on doing that
Thank
joint
you.
marketing effort.
Thank you so much.
I was going to say that as well. I really appreciate the fact that the two associations are working together collaboratively on these marketing efforts. You know, many years ago, we established the Historic Auburn Business Alliance that was trying to bridge the two organizations. And it was tough, and, you know, there was some collaboration, but I'm just really pleased to see the level of collaboration and commitment from both associations. You know, it's for the betterment of our city.
It's wonderful because you can pick up the phone, you can call Jonathan, you can call Kat. I mean, we all communicate with each other. Oh, it's really nice.
Communication is a great thing. And,
Same.
you know, just for the purposes of the public, these BIDs, you know, really, we're giving them approval to assess themselves. It's just that we're collecting those monies and keeping them here at City Hall for their purposes. But this is not a fee that we're establishing. This is something that they are doing for themselves. And the businesses agree to assess themselves to carry out these kinds of activities to beautify their areas. And that benefits the city too. So I also want to thank, you know, the members of both of the business improvement districts, because you're not required to have business improvement districts. Some cities don't have them at all. And we're really fortunate that our businesses see the benefit of establishing these districts and working together with us to promote our city. So thank you, and thanks to all of our members. So excited to see this go through again. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I'll just echo the comments of the council. Very impressed with the collaboration. We love Santa. It's like, why would you go anywhere else? And yeah, Matt Everstoke's work has been great. We were just away in DC, and the number of people we met with who said, oh, wow, Auburn, we've seen X, Y, and Z on social, whatever. So it's really reaching, and it's really impressive. So great collaboration, great work. Do we have a motion?
I move we receive the presentation and approve the annual Business Improvement District reports submitted by Old Town and Downtown Business Association.
I'll second.
And I screwed up. Do we have any public comment? Okay.
And there's a second motion to make
yeah.
after. Since
Oh,
we just,
okay.
So once we take a vote, we'll
Roll
I'll
call,
make a
please.
second motion.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye.
And Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion by resolution to approve the intention to levy the annual assessment fee for both districts for FY 26-27 to set a public hearing date for June 22nd to review the proposed fees.
I'll second it.
All right, any public comment? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to adoption of the Active Transportation Plan and Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, council members, Mandel Dean, Public Works Director. This evening, we will be bringing to you for adoption the Active Transportation Plan and CSAP. These plans have been before the council and they've been throughout the community for the last year and a half. We've had a lot of feedback on it. We've only received 2 new comments during the feedback period over the last 2 weeks. One was outside of the comment period, but we accepted it as we always do. And tonight I have Robert from Fern Pierce to give the final presentation, and then we will move forward from there.
Thank you.
I'm not quite as tall, so I'll move this down a little bit. Thank you, Menjel. Mayor Davis and council members, thank you again for having us here this evening. It's my pleasure to return to this council and present to you a summary of the Active Transportation Plan and Comprehensive Safety Action Plan this evening. The Active Transportation Plan, or ATP, and the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, or CSAP, are the culmination of a year-and-a-half effort, as Menjel mentioned. I want to specifically thank city staff for their collaborative spirit and support over this last year and a half, and the many community members and stakeholders who provided very valuable insight and feedback throughout the planning process. I also want to acknowledge that these plans were made possible by a grant from the Federal Department of Transportation's Safe Streets for All program. A brief overview of the presentation for this evening. I'll begin providing an overview of the project. I'll share the recommendations that are contained in the ATP and CSAP. The plans identify specific priority projects, which I will cover after the recommendations, and we'll wrap up with the summary of the plan implementation. When we presented to City Council last September on these plans, we provided details on the scope and the purpose of the ATP and CSAP. So over these next few slides, I'll provide more of a high-level overview about these plans just as a refresher to get us started. So the ATP really focuses on walking, cycling, and other human-powered modes of travel. It identifies a citywide plan for active transportation in Auburn. The CSAP is a comprehensive plan to reduce and eliminate crashes that result in serious injuries or fatalities. This slide presents the goals that are contained in each plan. I won't read through all of these, but I will note that the primary focus of the ATP is to support those active modes of travel, walking, bicycling, scootering, etc., while the focus of the CSAP is to really identify projects and programs that will reduce the frequency and severity of crashes. I also want to note that beyond these goals, these plans are a prerequisite for many grant programs. So by adopting these plans, that will position the city to pursue funding for these projects that will continue to help the city move forward towards achieving these goals. The development of these plans was a community-driven process. We attended many community events, hosted a public project website where we asked for community input, and met with local stakeholders, including members of the business community and active transportation organizations. Through this engagement effort, we received over 400 comments, which directly shaped the recommendations that are in these plans. Over these next few slides, I'll provide an overview of the recommendations in the ATP. So this first slide here shows a map of the sidewalks and pedestrian facilities in the city. Those lines that are shown in purple, or sorry, in light blue, are locations where there are sidewalks today, whereas the locations shown in purple are streets that currently do not have sidewalks. It's a bit hard to see, but there are some bright green dots also on this map at various intersections. Those are all locations where we're recommending improvements at those intersections. The ATP also contains a comprehensive recommended bicycle network. A few items to note about this particular map is just the comprehensive nature of the active or the bicycle facilities. We were looking at specifically how to provide bicycle facilities that connect all parts of the city, including the larger planning area, which includes the community of North Auburn outside the current city limits, but within the city's sphere of influence. Most of these bikeways do not exist today. And for roadways that do have bike lanes or designated bike routes, for example, like the Sharrows that are on High Street today, this plan recommends more robust bicycle facilities to help increase the separation between bikes and vehicles, which will help make bicycling more comfortable in the community. As a subset of that larger bike network, the ATP also identifies a recommended or priority bicycle network. Because that full recommended bike network will likely take years, if not decades, to complete, the ATP identifies this priority bicycle network as a starting point of looking at facilities within the city that better connect South Auburn, northern parts of the city into downtown and Old Town. In addition to that, one of the primary purposes of this sort of priority bicycle network is to provide comfortable routes that connect key destinations like schools, parks, the transit center and library on Nevada Street, neighborhood retail centers, and downtown and Old Town. A unique component of the ATP is the identification of what the plan calls shared street neighborhoods. So Auburn's history, as we heard, 175 years of being the county seat earlier this evening, and the character also mean that many of these neighborhoods were built before sidewalks and wider right-of-ways were standard practice. In these neighborhoods, building conventional sidewalks or bikeways may not be feasible due to limited right-of-way, utilities, or drainage facilities. So therefore, the ATP provides a toolbox of possible context-sensitive enhancements that the city can consider to support active transportation in these neighborhoods. Most of these areas are primarily residential, contain mostly of smaller local streets. In other words, there's no real major single primary or major street that connect these neighborhoods to adjacent corridors or districts. Largely in part due to their kind of residential nature, in some cases closer to downtown, the kind of grid network nature of the local streets, or just some of the older infrastructure in the area. So therefore, the ATP knows that the ultimate improvements for these neighborhoods should be selected from this toolbox with the locations for these improvements to be informed by outreach to the local residents, who are ultimately the experts from their daily experience living in these neighborhoods. Within the CSAP, one of the requirements of the Safe Streets for All federal grant program is that the city commit to eliminating serious injury and fatal crashes. Therefore, the CSAP identifies this overarching goal for the city, as shown here on this slide. And just to read that, the commitment that the city would be making is to reducing the number of roadway fatalities and serious injuries by 25% of the 2023 baseline year, every 5 years, with the eventual goal of reaching zero in 2045. To provide some context for this overarching goal, this slide presents some background data about crash activity in the city of Auburn. A couple things that I want to point out. Fatal and serious injury crashes, or what are also known as KSIs, as shown on this chart, were declining from 2017 to 2020. As you can see that light green bar going down there from 2017 to 2020, but then saw an uptick in 2021 and has then started to decrease again to 2023. However, if you look at the darker green bars, which are the number of crashes that result in some form of injury, that has steadily been generally increasing over this time period. The data also shows that when you look at all crashes that result in an injury, The vast majority of those crashes involve vehicles, about 84% is shown on that chart. That's not too surprising in most communities in California because of just how much travel is done by vehicle. But if you look at the most severe crashes, the KSI collisions, the data does show that bicyclists and pedestrians are more vulnerable to those most severe outcomes. As you can see, they make a larger proportion of those severe injury and fatal crashes. When we looked at the locations for where crashes occur, both in their frequency and severity, several corridors popped out in particular: Highway 49, Auburn Folsom Road, and some areas within downtown. This particular map shows represents about 25% of the roadway miles in the city of Auburn, but actually account for more than 80% of all of your injury crashes. So the plan identifies these as your safety corridors, areas where the resources should be focused to try and reduce those severe injury and fatal crashes. To achieve that, the CSAP includes a toolbox of safety countermeasures that are aimed to reduce the frequency and severity of crashes. These countermeasures comprise a wide variety of engineering measures as well as programs. One of the things that it tries to accomplish, for example, is to increase visibility. By increasing visibility, users are more aware of each other and are more able to avoid a crash or reduce the severity of a crash if one occurs. Examples of that could include additional lighting. Shown on this slide, we show curb extensions, or also known as curb bulb outs. Those make pedestrians more visible near crosswalks and at intersections. Here in Auburn, we also have rectangular rapid flashing beacons at some crosswalks. Again, that just heightens drivers' awareness to pedestrians at those crosswalk locations when a pedestrian is getting ready to cross the street. Again, any sort of these countermeasures that increase the visibility, the awareness of potentially other users using the roadway will help all users be more able to avoid those severe outcomes and hopefully to avoid crashes as much as possible. Another major factor when it comes to crashes is speed. So the CSAP toolbox also includes countermeasures that are focused on reducing vehicle speeds, especially reducing vehicle speeds at conflict points. One of those strategies includes eliminating what we call slip lanes. So in this image is an example of where right turn slip lanes in another community were eliminated at this particular intersection. Doing so reduces the speed of those right turning vehicles at that intersection and puts those turn movements right at the intersection itself. What that does is encourages vehicles to make those right turn maneuvers more slowly. They are more aware of pedestrians or cyclists that might be trying to also navigate through the intersection. And by reducing vehicle speeds, that gives drivers more reaction time and the ability to avoid a potential crash. But when a crash does potentially occur, it also reduces the severity, because with reduced speed, vehicle speeds, you reduce the severity of those collisions. Better controlling vehicle speeds at conflicts and increasing pedestrian and bicycle visibility at intersections is one way to do that, hence the benefit of eliminating slip lanes, of which there are actually several in Auburn today, including at some major intersections and most notably at the freeway off-ramps along I-80. So these plans are, as I mentioned, are comprehensive in nature. They cover the entire city. As you saw, they're a very large network. And so due to the extent of these plans, the plans also identify additional details for top priority projects. So the ATP identifies 5 priority corridor projects highlighted here in yellow. These projects were selected through a priority scoring process that considered community input, proximity to destinations, connecting major districts such as downtown, Old Town, and adjacent neighborhoods via comfortable bikeways. Similarly, the CSAP also identifies top five priority projects. I should also point out that both the ATP and CSAP projects, while we know State Highway 49 is the location for most of the crashes and where we've received a lot of community feedback of where people would want to see more safe facilities, the state highway is under Caltrans jurisdiction. So in collaboration with city staff, we specifically identify locations that the city has jurisdiction over. So you'll notice that most of these intersections or locations are on local roadways. An example for what these priority project, the level of detail we looked at these priority projects, we went and looked at each location. We have a civil engineering teaming partner who partnered with us on this project. They were able to develop these conceptual diagrams or plans for what that implementation may look like. And this provides city staff with not only the priority locations, but also some concepts and cost estimates as well for when they're pursuing grant funding. And then finally wrapping up with plan implementation. As a summary, the City of Auburn has about 141 miles of existing sidewalks. The ATP identifies an additional 65 miles of additional sidewalks. Today, Auburn has about 16.5 miles of existing bikeways, while the ATP proposes an additional 31 miles of bikeways, although also repurposing some of those existing bikeways with more robust facilities as well, as I mentioned. The cost to construct the entire ATP recommended network is about $62 million. The cost to implement those top 5 priority projects is just under $10 million. Potential funding source opportunities for these projects include grant programs at the federal, state, and regional level, which are listed here on the slide. I also want to highlight and note that we know Public Works is already looking at leveraging the priority projects from these plans to pursue grant funding to implementation and hit the ground running on these. With that, I thank you again for the opportunity to come present. I'll be available for questions throughout the remainder of the evening.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. Are you just coming up for questions? All right. Well, before we dive into questions, I just want to say thank you to staff, to Fair and Peers. You said 1.5 years. I think it's been closer to 3 since I came forward asking for, a grant to put in a bike rack. And they looked at me and said, there is no plan. And so I made calls. They said, well, how do we get a plan? And it just, so I'm so thankful for the work that has happened, for the outreach, the community work. I thank folks in this room, folks watching that contributed and provided feedback. It's been very valuable. It was nice to see a lot of consensus over where people wanted to go and what they wanted to see. So just a huge thank you on that front. And the main point being that this opens up grant funding, so this isn't city-funded work, which I think is very important, so that we're not trying to pay for each road, bike lane and stripe. It's bigger pots of money that are specifically focused at looking at these priorities and providing that funding. So wanted to make that point. And let's see, I really like the shared streets concept because there are a lot of neighborhoods, and it is fine to walk and to be in the streets, but there might be 1 or 2 little intersections or little trouble spots. And so having a toolkit to, if residents reach out to say, hey, we can do X, Y, and Z treatment. So I really liked that. So I guess those are my comments as well. Do we have comments from council?
Why don't you go first? Looks like you have a lot. I'll be right after you.
Okay, so I was just trying to get myself together after taking some notes last night, reading the documents. I certainly respect the fact that this has been a very lengthy process, and there's been a tremendous amount of community outreach trying to solicit opinion and thoughts and expertise and so forth. So I thank everyone for that. I will say that, the ATP, we are doing our own ATP, but we're also in collaboration with Placer County Transportation Planning Agency that's doing an ATP as well. So they're going to utilize some of this information and put it into theirs as well. So, that's good timing on that end. It's an aggressive plan. I think you said the total cost was $62 million. And, one thing I did want you to do, if you could, just really quickly, I see in the report on page 31 of the actual active transportation plan, you have classified the bicycle facilities into 4 categories. And if you could just go through a very quick explanation of those, and then I wanted to ask a couple questions on class 4, which we don't have at this moment in the city of Auburn. So if you can just do a quick, because when you...
It's very confusing.
And when you talk about the different, you say here, that's good, you have it in here. But you talk about the different classifications and the priority plans and trying to really hone in on this specific area and what it's going to look like. So yes, if you could just quickly go off, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So as you point out, there are 4 different bikeway classifications. These are actually bikeway classifications that are identified by Caltrans. So they have various different characteristics, and that's how they drop them into one of these 4 different buckets, so to speak. So Class 1 are your off-street paths or trails. So in this particular example, this particular Class 1 path is actually adjacent to a roadway, but it could be completely off roadway as well. So for example, in the Auburn ATP, we've identified several locations for potential Class 1 facilities, primarily actually along the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way, which I will acknowledge is going to be a challenge to implement.
Yes, and I was going to say that. I mean, that was the other thing, is that we have some plans and we don't have any jurisdiction within the UP right away. And the reality is, just based on some conversations that, we had an event and with them, I don't see that happening anytime soon because of the liability issues on their end. I mean, we have to have permission, so people need to understand that too, that even though it's in the plan, doesn't mean it's going to happen. But anyway, please go ahead.
Yes. The next classification here are Class 2 bike lanes. These are probably what community members are a little more familiar with. For example, these exist today on Nevada Street. The Caltrans just recently put them in on Highway 49 as example. So these are portions of the roadway that are specifically delineated for cyclists, usually on the shoulder of the roadway. A newer type of form of that Class 2 bike lane is what we call a buffered bike lane. And the difference there is you'll notice there's a couple stripes on there that adds a little bit more space between the vehicles and the cyclists. It's really to help indicate to drivers and cyclists to provide that additional space to provide additional comfort.
Is it only space, or could there be some physical, like pilots or?
So
That's the next one.
That exactly. So there's a slight difference between these Class 2 buffered bike lanes, which are just striping, and what we are the newest bikeway classification, which is called a Class 4 separated bikeway. And that, you'll notice, is very similar to the buffered bike lane in that there's stripe buffers, but there's also vertical elements in between. And that could be like this picture where you just have flexible bollards or in between. It could also be, a raised concrete barrier with breaks in that for drainage, for example. It could be a landscape, something with landscaping with, floral beds or something along those lines as well. The last classification is your Class 3 bike routes, and those are essentially roadways that cyclists share with vehicles. So there's not a designated space for cyclists, but you add things like sharrows or pavement markings or signage to help make drivers aware that this is a space where they should expect to see cyclists riding. Generally speaking, Class 3 facilities, your bike routes, are best purposed on roadways that have lower speeds, lower volumes, so there's just fewer vehicle conflicts. As you go up, bike lanes are more appropriate on roads that maybe are carrying a little bit more vehicles, at slightly higher speeds than a Class 3. Once you get to any sort of roadway that's carrying a decent amount of traffic with, say, speeds over 30, 35 miles an hour, that's where either a Class 1 facility or a Class 4 facility is what's recommended per FHWA recommendations. And that's where we started from with the ATP recommendations, was going to this actually FHWA guidance, looking at speeds and the amount of vehicles on a roadway. So notice anything that's in this dark blue shaded area is where FHWA would recommend a Class 4 or Class 1 type facility. Hence why actually if you look at roadways like Auburn Folsom and Highway 49, that's where we started. Based on some community feedback, we did actually with Auburn Folsom specifically tailor that back down to buffered bike lanes as a starting point. Again, technically if we followed FHWA guidance, we would recommend something a little bit stronger, but again, we're trying to account for community feedback as well as just what is available space there in terms of implementation.
I appreciate that you went through that explanation, just, like I said, for the purposes of the public and just so that we have clear understanding. And then with the Class 4 separated bikeway, it can include just the removal of off-street parking in a section, correct? I mean, so, because I don't want to get, again, safety is paramount. I want to prevent deaths. I want to prevent injury. We all do. Nobody wants that to happen. But I also want to be reasonable based on the demand, all right? And so, removing some on-street parking versus putting in a Ballard or something like that, to me is a softer approach. I'd rather do that, and it's a lot less expensive also. The other thing is that with on-street parking removal, you can do that for time durations also. So I like, for example, spending a lot of time down in Berkeley. I wonder why, with my kiddo there, and I will tell you, they've got all of these bikeways, and some of the ones with the permanent structures are just, they are almost more dangerous because it's confusing, and there's buses coming and pedestrians, and you can't get over there, and so I'm a little wary, just again, having that experience recently.
You mean the class 2?
No, the separated bike. Yeah, like they have even in downtown Sacramento, where you have a permanent structure. And I also don't like to have the cement in there also, because if you do need to get over there for an emergency purposes, you can't, so if someone was barreling down on you and you had to get out of the way and there's no one in the bike lane, I'd rather, so, yeah. Anyway, but I wanted to clarify that those separated bikeways don't necessarily always equate to some kind of a permanent structure. It can be the simple removal of parking, and it can be that removal of parking for a specified time periods only. So that if there are events in the evening and so forth, when bikes are less likely to be out, then parking can happen. So, correct? I mean, I'm on the correct path, right?
So yes, I believe in the California Vehicle Code, like while bike lanes are intended for bicycle use, if there was like say an emergency situation, like you mentioned, like vehicles are allowed to, by California Vehicle Code law, still allowed to like use those shoulder areas, in those events, and cyclists would just need to navigate.
But my point is just that if there's some kind of a curb thing or something there permanently, you can't get out of the way. You can't go over there. I mean, without wrecking your car or what have you. So, because I do note, right now we don't have any of the Class 4, and what you're proposing is 6 miles of Class 4. So that was important to me. The other thing I just kind of wanted to talk about with regards to the overall plan is that this is a plan, $62 million worth of plan. And before anything moves forward, it will have to come to the council as a proposal with a budget request. So the adoption of this plan does not mean that we are committing to completing the entire plan. It is simply a plan that we can utilize when we're looking at improvements, and also that we can use for grant applications. And I think that's right now something that we don't have that opportunity without an ATP to access some of those grant funding. So it's important that we have this. But it's not a commitment to implement every single measure. This is a plan, and every proposal will have to come to us for an individual vote so that we can allocate funds and so forth. And the public will have an opportunity to participate in that process as well. The other thing that was a concern to me initially was that, we just got this plan. I know it's been in the works for a very long time, and there's been a tremendous amount of outreach. But even as a council member, I felt like I was rushed to read through everything, and, I'm here voting on it. And then I'm asking the public to take time, in a very short period. But I know that we have to adopt this quickly because the grant that we have to prepare this runs out at the end of the month, and I don't want to spend any more money, so we got to get that done. But I wanted just to assure the public is that there will be that opportunity for transparency, as we always want to promote, to weigh in when the proposal comes, when a project comes before us. So, I appreciate having the opportunity to say that. And then, let's see here.
While you're looking that up, I do want to just reiterate that fact that this is kind of a high-level plan, and while the concepts that we do include in the appendices that were developed by our civil are just concepts, any sort of implementation when you get down to like what is actually would be constructed, obviously would need to go through like a design process, and that's when you really get into the nitty-gritty details of like where are the driveways, where can we keep on-street parking? What does this really affect at that at the project level? And that would obviously be designed in review with, your Public Works Department.
Yes.
And, contracts to construct those facilities would likely come before the council to authorize those contracts. So you're exactly right.
Absolutely. And so I just want to really, again, for the public, for the purposes of the public, that, there's quite a bit of work ahead of us, but, and there will be ample opportunity for participation in that. I also wanted to echo the mayor's comment on the shared street neighborhoods and the approach with working with those neighborhoods on what works best. I really, really like that a lot because, and I know the mayor and I both live in one of these neighborhoods here where we don't have curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, and we have a tremendous amount of pedestrians, we have runners, we have people biking, we have horses on the street sometimes in my area. And so, but sitting down and working with the neighborhoods, I think is just imperative, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to have that in the plan. So thank you very much. Instead of just dictating what's going to happen, we can work together to determine what's best. We know what the traffic is like, how quick people are going, so thank you very much for that. I don't really have any other questions on the, let's see, on the safety plan. I don't think
One real quick thing I would like to add to that is through this process, we also had a chance to meet with the city's traffic safety committee.
Yes.
And that is a valuable area where you can use that as a venue where you're engaging your community through this process. And we saw firsthand how community members and residents are able to bring their concerns to the city and get those issues addressed. I think that is a very appropriate venue for the implementation of both the ATP and the CSAP going forward.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions at this point, but I just wanted to be able to make those comments. So thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and to ask you to clarify that. So it's great. Thank you.
In addition to that, I'd like to add that Chair Hyatt from the Planning Commission has been actively involved in the development of this plan from the very beginning.
Member Amaro?
Yes, I have a few questions then that are a little different. So my first one is the priorities from the safety plan. Very high crash rate was Auburn Folsom. I think you said Highway 49, of course. And what was the other one, area? Or was there another? Those were the two highest, I think.
Correct. So Highway 49 saw the highest frequency, which was probably no surprise to the members and the people in this room. Auburn, Folsom, and downtown, I think, were the other areas where we saw higher frequencies of crashes. In the downtown and Old Town context, I think it's just primarily because you do have more people walking and cycling around, and
Not necessarily crashes, but just more people.
older infrastructure as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And so I guess my question then is, with Auburn Folsom, could you put up the classes up there? You said that would be a Class 2 buffered? So it'd be which one? It'd be the Class 2B?
Correct. That's what we're showing in the active transportation plan.
Now, Auburn Folsom, though, doesn't have the parking, so it would just be...
Correct. So instead of the parking in this picture, you would have just a curb and gutter on the edge there.
And the only buffer in Auburn Folsom where your speeds up to 60 mile an hour would be just a little two stripes?
Correct. Now, the thought process behind that recommendation, again, was based on some feedback from the community to Councilmember Down Cavilla's point, concerns about, like, well, what if you had certain circumstances where vehicles need to pull over, if you had that physical barrier, what sort of impediment would that potentially pose? So really
couldn't you have the Class 4?
Yeah, so the primary difference between the Class 4 separated bikeway and the Class 2 buffered bike lane is just those vertical features. And so the thought was you can start with the kind of buffered bike lane treatment. And again, this plan will, in all likelihood, at some point require updating. At that point, it could be another community engagement conversation of whether something more robust is still necessary along that corridor. I will point out that when we look at the priority connections, that the priority connections also looked to find facilities that were parallel to kind of those higher speed facilities. So while Auburn Folsom is shown as that the buffered bike lane recommendation, you notice that one of the priority projects is using Sacramento Street and then Pacific Street over to Pleasant Avenue as a kind of parallel route to Auburn Folsom that connects the South Auburn neighborhoods up to Placer High School and downtown, that it would probably be more comfortable for cyclists to use. So we're still showing that if cyclists want to use Auburn Folsom, you still can, but there are alternative facilities that would honestly be more suited for cyclists to better connect those folks to downtown, Placer High School, the parks, and Old Town.
But then Auburn Folsom does extend way up further than Pacific and that street.
Correct.
So I guess I would feel totally uncomfortable with, especially with the safety report and us put just a class 2 buffered. I think if there's some physical barrier, that makes a little more sense. I certainly understand what you're saying, but and then as far as the top going above Pacific, then that
High Street?
no, not High Street, going toward Indian Hill.
Oh.
That's so. I guess you'd need signage too. I mean, if people are coming, is that part of the ATP? Signage, marketing? I think that's very important.
Yeah, so there's a section of the ATP that also includes instructions on how to potentially look at wayfinding signage for bikeways specifically. So the example that was brought up earlier this evening, the wayfinding signs that were implemented in downtown were really intended for, travelers that are coming to downtown Old Town, how to better navigate that particular area specifically. But if you had specific bikeways, actually a good example of this is the Auburn Endurance Committee does have a specific endurance bike route that actually utilizes both actually public as well as some private or state-owned, state recreation area type facilities that connect primarily along the canyon.
Yeah.
And those are signed with little sign markings all along that particular route. So something similar could be done along kind of priority bikeways as well.
So we need additional signage
that are more geared for cyclists.
Yes.
Correct. So
and I think an important part of all this is also the mindset, changing the mindset that Auburn is the endurance capital of the world, but we're also bike and ped, we promote that, and that's important to our city. And I think that's important messaging that we also need to get across, so that people will slow down. And sometimes you can put all the infrastructure, but it is a mindset too. So, and then I just had a couple other questions So I'm sure you've done a lot of these ATPs, a lot of different cities. And as you said, this will take years and decades to complete. And there's probably a lot of grants out there, but there's also a lot of competition, I'm sure. So I guess, is there anything you'd suggest that would put us at the top, or just, is it messaging? Is it having more people, message or use our bicycles right now, or what? Anything you could recommend?
So I can speak to that. The idea is to have the plan in place and then actively work towards putting it in. So the plan is just a governing document that we can say, we have a plan, because we have to be able to say that we have a plan. I think when we're applying for grants and things like that, the level of detail put into the grant application to try to get that roadway work done is what's going to put us to that next level.
Okay.
And
I do want to plug
to the connections to schools. Like, a lot of our routes are routes to schools, routes to parks, and those are much, we're competitive in
and
that
to
sense.
transit center too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you guys, the council recognizes earlier this evening, the staff put together an application for some RSTBG funds. Those funds are being applied for using this information in this very grant, and that is to the tune of well over $1 million, which the city does not currently have. Absolutely. And so the reality is without this plan, we would not have been.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have another question for Robert. So There is no plan really for down Lincoln Way, from Rayleigh's down
So
to the roundabout.
so on Lincoln Way, we're showing Class 2 bike lanes all
Okay.
along that stretch, essentially from, actually, this is just the priority network. If I go to the full network, you'll see Class 2 bike lanes that go, sorry, it gets a little less detailed up there, but all the way from Forest Hill Road going kind of there
Is it
along the canyon all the way down to the roundabout.
Okay, now that's a very narrow road and very high traffic speed. I mean, is Class 2 adequate? Again, I'm having a little problem with some of these.
Yeah, no, great question. And I can let Menjo also add to this, but again, that was one of the corridors where constraints really were one of the driving factors because of the narrowness of the existing right-of-way. I think when we get further to the northern end, which unfortunately is today in the county, we actually did recommend more robust facilities once you get on the northern section, say north of Russell Road, because there is the curb-to-curb width to accommodate a more robust bicycle facility. But within the city, as you're kind of going around some of those turns and curves, Class 2 bike lanes was all that could fit. Really, even Class 2 bike lanes are probably going to need a little bit of shoulder widening in some areas in order to accommodate.
With also the option to go through Russell to AO, which is a shared route neighborhood.
Exactly, and so we actually do show that here. It's a little bit hard to see because the yellow kind of blends in a little bit, but we do show using Forest Hill Avenue, not to be confused with Forest Hill Road, out to the Stagecoach Trailhead, and then up along Russell Road, again, kind of as a parallel, lower speed, lower volume route, a little more circuitous, but more,
very, very narrow.
yeah, but much lower volume than
Yes,
Lincoln.
yes, yeah, I do agree. And I do want to do a shout out to sustainability and Joe Looney. I believe he was the impetus for the shared neighborhood concept. I think he brought that to your attention, so thank you. I think that's very wise, and I also appreciate that. That's all I have for now.
Oh, thank you. Councilmember Riddell Harris.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. I appreciate all the work that you put into this. I know this is a lot. Couple of quick things. I just wanted to say how great this is for fixing our roads as well, because we can actually know ahead of time if that's supposed to have the right type of striping and things like that, because we were repairing roads and saying, hey, it'd be great if there was a bike lane here, but we didn't know what kind of bike lane or have done the study on it to figure out whether it was the appropriate kind of bike lane. So this really helps us to be able to have our Public Works Department, when we're doing replacing of roads, be able to plan ahead of time and kind of, so we don't have to do things twice. So appreciate that part of this. As far as 49 goes, it's tough that we can't control the safety on that, because whenever we have reports from police department and fire, that's where a good portion of our calls come from, is from 49. And so that's just a challenge that we have within our community. I was nervous when they put in the Class 2 bike lanes on 49, because that's definitely not a safe thing to do. And then they were calling it a safe route to school, and that was a challenge because wouldn't have my kids riding on 49. So I think making sure that we aren't making dangerous bikeways just to have one is, I think, a critical thing too. We need to make sure if we're going to put something in that it makes sense and it's safe for everyone, because we want to be able to say it's safe to use if you're using a bike. On there were intersection improvements that were little green dots, and it said that I couldn't find any recommendations for the green dots in here. So are there actual, did I miss it? Are there recommendations on what to do with each intersection? Because I know we've been working near my house on an intersection that a bunch of kids go from one neighborhood across over to the school, and we weren't quite sure exactly what we should do in order to make that safer. Public Works did a great job trying some striping that was different and things like that, but it would be nice if we knew what we should be doing to make sure that those routes are safer.
Yeah, so those intersection improvement kind of locations that you identify, we did kind of do community outreach and talk to city staff about just at a high level, what are some of the options. The conclusion that we came to was that the toolbox type approach was probably the best one, because each location is going to be unique and different. And to be honest, we just didn't have the time or resources to look at all of those intersections individually at this point. We did look at those top 5 intersections more closely, because we saw those as being locations either where there were crashes today or where because of their design, there's a very strong perception of being unsafe, and because of the higher vehicle speeds, would potentially lend itself to having a severe crash outcome. So we're like, those are our top 5 intersections to really prioritize. The remainder of those intersections, the idea is that would be a little more of this toolbox approach. So there's that list of different intersection interventions you could potentially look at.
Okay.
Again, kind of in collaboration with Public Works to say, okay, what's the speeds on the roadways? Is it proximate to schools? What are the different conditions there? And therefore, let's find a context-sensitive solution that works.
Okay.
To your comment about Highway 49, real quick, to point out, we did actually identify Class 4 separated bikeways on Highway 49 for that very point that you made. We recognize, again, that it's going to be Caltrans' responsibility to implement, and because they just went out and striped Class 2 bike lanes, it's unlikely to happen anytime soon, just like the Class 1 facilities along the Union Pacific Railroad, although hopefully sooner than that, because Caltrans is also, as a statewide agency, committed to this reduction in severe injury and fatal crashes across the state on their facilities. So one of the benefits of having something like that identified on your plan is when you are interfacing with Caltrans, when you are hearing the community concerns, you can point to this plan and say, well, Caltrans, this is what our community wants to see here.
Yep.
Can we start making progress towards that solution at some point?
It gives us some backup for advocating, which is great.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. So thank you for that. As far as working with Placer County, I've thought it was strange that on Indian Hill we have 2 lanes in one direction, 1 lane in the other, and then a bunch of bikes not in a bike lane that we're trying to swerve around going both directions. Has there been any talk with Placer County? How do we work with Placer County on that? Maybe it's a Mendel question. How do we, because I just use that on a regular basis, and it just seems strange that there's a whole extra lane that's normally not well utilized and a whole bunch of people who love to bike on Indian Hill.
So this plan is being done at the same time as Placer County's plan, and they do have some things to address that in there.
Okay.
However, it should keep in mind that Indian Hill is kind of designed the way it is because it was development driven at the time when the roads went in. And we expected certain things to be there that turned out to not be there at this current point.
Yeah.
So while the 2 plans are trying to meet that gap, we still have to recognize that there's still some change in the future for that area. So
Okay,
that's kind of-
yeah, and we have a dead-end bike lane there, and it's just a little bit of a strange interaction between the 2. Okay, I think that was it. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate your presentation.
Councilmember Holmes, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I apologize for being so late.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. We apologize for being. All right, do we have any public comment? Go ahead. If you want to, just line up here in the front row. And if you are planning to say this very same thing as the person in front of you, maybe just some jazz hands, and but fresh comments more than welcome, and we'll have a 3-minute timer.
You know, Madam Mayor, sometimes what I like to suggest is if someone just wants to say, my name is X, and I'd like to echo the previous speaker, and that's sufficient.
That's perfect.
All right, my name is Shannon Conroy, and I actually biked across the country from New Hampshire to Washington State. So I've experience with a lot of different bike lanes and different types of things. And by far, the times I felt safest were, when we were on class bike 1 paths completely separated from the cars. And the most dangerous was when we were in middle of Montana and we had to go on interstate because there were no other roads that we could be on. So I hear what you're saying about concerns about some of our local roadways and how they could be made safer. And I really love that you are looking at increasing bike lanes and bikes accessible places in the community. And just one comment is that while I was training for this across the country bike tour, going downhill on a steel frame bike on Auburn Folsom, I was reaching speeds of 55 miles an hour. So even though if we had like a vertical balustrade, it would prevent me from actually being able to take up the lane and space of a car. So on a downhill section, a vertical space keeping me confined to a narrower space would have been less safe. But the class 2, the painted buffer line would have been sufficient. And if we think about the curb on the uphill lanes, if we cut that curb to be a soft curb, that gives the bikes room to move in case of an emergency that they need to take up the space on the sidewalk. That would be a consideration that something to think about in terms of how to make it safer for bikes without necessarily having to make it a physical divider. Also because sometimes that physical divider makes cars think that they can go faster. And when they have bikes on the road, reducing speeds is the single one thing that will prevent it. Because again, the bike organization I went with stopped doing trips across the country because on average, once a year, on the 8 trips they were running across the country, someone got hit and someone died doing that. So bike safety is huge. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you that you're working on making things more accessible in the future.
Thank you very much.
I'm Bill Pennington. I'm also a newly minted member of the Sustainability Committee. One of the things that may help us in getting grants, even though this is a human endeavor and involves safety, doing cost-benefit analysis for each piece of this is extremely important. One of the things that needs to be included is the additional cost of enforcement. There are a number of bicycle riders around here that don't think the laws apply to them sometimes, things like that. And you may want to consider the level of the class you're working on with what it's going to cost to enforce it, things like that. But, there's a lot of fine details that you'll need to go into before we do each project. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Joe Looney from Auburn and a member of the Sustainability Committee. First of all, I want to thank you to Fear and Peers and all the people that worked so hard on this. It's an incredible piece of work. And specifically want to thank you for the attention to the shared streets. It's going to be very helpful, and I think a lot of neighborhoods will feel like they have been listened to, and so I had 2 suggested additions to the shared street concept, and they may be covered by the plan, maybe not specifically, but I just want to bring them up quickly. And that was one of my comments, but I don't know if who's received them. But basically, the shared street neighborhoods are so different that we need to make people aware, very much aware that they're in a different context. People are on those streets without options. And so to improve the awareness and moderate driving behavior, would like to suggest one of the in the toolkit, signage for shared street neighborhoods. And there's had a couple examples of those. Slow streets, shared streets. And the other was potential for lowering speed limits. I know that lowering speed limits in and of itself usually has almost no effect. But if it's done with signage, I think that could be very powerful. Otherwise, people from Amazon, FedEx, coming into one of these neighborhoods, unless their dispatchers tell them to read the ATP before they go to Auburn, there's no way for them to know. So signage would be really helpful. And for the speed limits, I know that there's more flexibility now that we can go through. If you're a quarter mile from a land use that has high concentrations of pedestrians, you can apply for a lower speed limit with a little less work. But it would be nice to see if we could have the shared street neighborhoods as a whole, each neighborhood be considered as a whole instead of one street at a time. And so my comment on that was under the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, if the shared streets could be listed specifically so that they can take advantage of the local data category. So that it's another category to kind of make that easier to accomplish.
Perfect.
So, and I did
right.
have another comment.
I'm gonna have to
May
ask you to
7th,
wrap it up.
So I don't know if that made it in or not, or was a suggestion for, a suggestion for an additional shared street path in a location that's not on the plan. That might be a better, safe route to schools, and also more amenable to meeting ADA requirements. I would like that to be considered in the future if now's too late to get that in, but I can provide the specifics for that
Okay.
at a later time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alex Anderson. I live in the Sky Ridge neighborhood, and thank you, Mayor and City Council, for taking the time for this. I'm really supportive of the plan. I think it's great that it's aspirational. It sets a really high level of aspiration, which is fantastic. If we find the money, we build it. If we don't have the money, we build it more slowly. So I really love that part of the plan. I will say Class 2 buffered bike lanes. I've lived in a number of different cities and towns. There's a saying within the advocacy community that paint is not protection. If you look at Class 2 bike lanes, oftentimes, especially if you're going around a right turn, you'll find that the paint is worn away on that right turn. And that's indicative that cars have a hard time staying between the lines. And so to have a curb or a ballard, especially in those areas, is really effective. I've seen it be very effective. I lived for about a year in Fremont, and they had bollards on particularly those areas where cars were more likely to move into that lane. So I'd really like to see us really protect cyclists if we're going to build that kind of facility. And then the last thing I'm going to say, and I was one of the people I think made a comment, and you were nice enough to accept it at the last minute, I think, but one of the things that really concerned me is the executive summary, is that that's something that everybody who opens that document is going to read. And the first 70 words of that executive summary were the benefits of an active transportation plan. And what I thought was really lacking was a vision. And the reason I say that's important, this might sound like a minor point, but when we get in debates about budget and neighborhoods not liking plans and people getting emotional, I like to think we go back to a vision that the people in this city should have. And so I took a stab at a vision, and this is based on sort of economic, the way people can survive in this city or in this community who have less means than others. And I came up with a simple vision. I'm not saying it needs to be adopted, but I want us to think about it. And it's design Auburn so residents can fully participate in city life without the cost burden of car ownership. Cars are really expensive. You know, it's $500 a year plus for insurance, thousands of dollars for maintenance, thousands of dollars to own them. So I really want to emphasize that we should be able to say why we're doing this ATP. And I'm going to read that one more time. Design Auburn so that residents can fully participate in city life without the cost burden of car ownership. And I think we miss that a lot of times. We talk about exercise and better health and all those kind of things, but I really think that's what this comes down to, is people should be able to walk and ride a bike to participate in life without having to own a car. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor Davis and the Auburn City Council. I'm Bob Peterson. I wear a few hats. I'm this year's chair of the Auburn Endurance Committee. I'm the president of the Sierra Foothills Cycling Club, and I'm also one of the stakeholders that's been participating in the Placer County ATP. So this is really impressive. I think there's a lot of tremendous work here. My concern is, and I'll just balance with what Sandy Amara said, is notice that in North Auburn, where their schools are, we don't have annexation for the city, so it's up to the county. So I'm not sure how much work there was done with Fairs and Piers with the ATP with Placer County, dealing with both the northern end of town and the southern end, but I'm going to say, in the rest of the work for the ATP, I'll kind of focus on that just to make sure we can to that gentleman's point about communicating, getting our kids to school safely. The other thing, Sandy, you mentioned it's really worth talking about is how do you change people's mentality? When you drive through Auburn or Meadow Vista, you'll see sharrows on the road. How many people in this room know what a sharrow in a road means? Not many, and that's the whole point, is that there's just, lack of education. So working with Placer County, actually with our DPW team here in Auburn, doing a lot of signage is really important. Comment on bicyclists not following the law. One of the things that we have at Sierra Foothills Cycling is a BAST team. It's a bicycle advocacy and safety team. We work very hard to communicate with our club and our members on bicycle safety. Every ride leader does a presentation before every ride about following the rules. So, yeah, I hear you. There are some mavericks. We have a few, but I think that we're not the only bicycle club that's trying to educate our riders to obey the laws, because we have to obey them just as much as everybody else. But again, good job. Again, I think we really need to focus in on that northern Auburn area.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Steve Hyatt. You know me because I'm on your planning commission. I'm also an avid cyclist that cycles over 1,000 miles a year. And I would encourage you, well, I support this document as is. The intent behind this document, in my view, is to get funding for projects. There are a lot of great items that were brought up that can be addressed later when it comes to doing the design of these types of projects. But at this point, we do not have a document that we could take to SACOG, to the state, and to the feds in order to support getting funding for the city of Auburn, which I believe is the first priority. I wanted to congratulate Fair and Peers and city staff for their excellent work on this. I was glad to be a member of being involved with this, and I would encourage you to move forward with this as is. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Any other public comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I think we all heard the comments, and hopefully we'll take all that into consideration, I'm sure. Yeah, I see nodding, good. So I would like to make a motion by resolution, adopt the active transportation plan and the comprehensive safety action plan.
I'll second that. Any other comments? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris. Aye. Mayor Davis.
Aye. Yay. Thank you. All right, item 10, fiscal year 2026-27, commission committee work plan requests.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So each year during the budgeting process, we ask.
Mr. City Manager, sorry, we're going to take a little recess. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick, thank you.
5 minutes, make it quick. All right, thank you very much. We will pick up where we left off with item number 10, fiscal year 2026-27, Commission Committee Work Plan Requests.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So each year during the budgeting process, the council city asks our different commissions and committees to propose a work plan for each year. The city allocates a specific amount of money for the different committees and commissions. This year, we're recommending again $5,000 because of the city's fiscal condition. And so, we have basically 5 different committees that we have. We have the Auburn Art Commission, Endurance Capital Committee, the Economic Development Commission, Streetscape History and Art Advisory Committee, easily known as SHAC, and then the Sustainability Advisory Committee. And so those work plans were submitted to city staff. We compiled them all, went through them all, and then we made recommendations on each to the council. I think my recommendation on the way to proceed would be to let me talk through each one. I'll just do a quick summary of each specific work plan, and then we can either lump them all in at the end, or we can make a decision as we go on each. Might be easier to do a decision on each. Up to you how you want to do it.
I think each would be.
Yeah, I'd like to do each one, Madam Mayor, if that would.
Okay, that's what I thought too. Okay, so the first one is the, let me get my stuff set up here. The first one is the Arts Commission. So, Arts Council, we have it 2 ways. I believe it's the Arts Council. So the Arts Council is the first attachment in the council packet. They're asking, and their proposed work plan is the Art Park shade frame decoration. So that's the umbrellas that we have in the Art Park. School Park mosaic mural. School Park preserve programs to be funded through donations. The Wind Phone project, that's a zero cost. City Hall Gallery, $240. Auburn Art Walk, no money for that, no request for that. Art resource and training workshops, $0 on that one because it's covered through fees. Marketing with $1,810. I should go back and say the shade frame decorations for the art park is $1,000. The School Park Preserve mosaic mural is $2,800. That's a carryover of the previous year budget. And then the School Park Preserve program is $1,800 through donations. Juried Art Show, zero cost on that. Leadership Auburn and Culture Day, $400. High Street, Old Town, Bicentennial Park and Paths, $6,500 to be done through donations and grants. The Streetscape Tile for Lee Buckingham, that's $2,500 through donations. School Park Preserve Native Plant Garden, total amount's $24,000. The city share would potentially be $8,000. And then the Highway 49 Canyon Roundabout, $250,000 being funded through fundraising. So their total work plan request is $275,140. However, Roundabout staff obviously is continuing to recommend that be done through donations. The majority of the fundraising requests should be considered one-time fundraising requests, but in different locations. So they're going to be using Venmo QR codes to help fund most of this. And then there's a separate fundraising effort for the Lee Buckingham tile. And so staff's recommendation is approval of the work plan and the fundraising requests with the continued understanding that the Roundabout Art Project requires receiving donations to offset that cost. And then also, on the School Park Reserve, the Native Plant Garden, that identifies a city share, potential city share of 1/3 of the cost, or $8,000, and because the city's provided $5,000, we would not be able to contribute the city. I'm recommending that we do not contribute that additional $8,000. So I can answer questions on that one.
I think what we were asking, can we kind of do the summary and then discuss and pass each one? Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Perfect. Questions or comments?
So I have some questions. Is someone here from Arts Commission?
Looks like April left.
Oh, dear. Okay. Because there was just a couple of things. When I looked at this proposal, I recognized that some of these are they're asking for authority to collect donations, which they're supposed to do. But when I looked at just the request for expenditures, I only calculated $3,450, not including the $8,000 city share for the school park preserve. So I wasn't really clear. There's another $1,550. So I'm not really sure what we're approving for that, because we're giving everyone $5,000 of basically, we're allocating $5,000. We're not giving anybody anything. We're allocating $5,000 based on their work plan, and we will approve the elements of their work plan. But what was just confusing to me is exactly what we're allocating the $5,000 for the Arts Commission, because I just, like I said, came up with $3,400. Would we say that the remaining $1,500 would be for that garden? I don't know. So, and no one's here. So, Mr. City Manager, I'm not really sure if you have any additional information. I mean, I'm just looking here at the proposal, and it was just.
You know, I'm looking at their actual proposal starting on, the funding side. It starts on page 128 in the packet.
Yes.
So if you look at just the first three, that's 1,000, 2,800, and then 1,890. All of those, everything they're looking at potentially, raising funding for, but there's no guarantee that they would receive donations. So if you add those up by themselves, that's 5,700 and change.
But we're only allocating 5,000.
Right. And so whatever programs are proposing, 5,000 to go for all those programs, and anything that they raise in addition to that.
So if they wanted to utilize, I guess what I'm just saying is that there may be instances as we move forward with each of the committee's recommendations where we may not want to move forward with a particular work plan item. So we'll just specify if we don't. But, in here, for example, you would recommend that we not provide funding for the shared garden, the 8,000.
Right.
But in fact, I don't really have a problem with what they're recommending expenditures on. I'm good with. It's just that there's only $5,000. So if they wanted to use $5,000, their full amount on the School Park Preserve Native Plant Garden, so be it. I don't think that's what they want to do, but I'm just saying that for our purposes, when I take a look at these, the art park shade frame, I'm fine with those, but as long as it just adds up to that 5,000.
Right.
So if there's a little bit of extra and they want to spend it on that garden, I'm fine with it, just as long as we don't exceed it.
Exactly.
Because I know that you had recommended not to, and so I just want to say that for me, I'm okay. Here's your parameter, 5K.
For
So.
clarification for next year, could we make sure that we have, this is what they want to spend the budget that we're giving them on versus here are the things they're planning on collecting and just asking for permission to collect donations and spend those donations on?
Right.
I think it would just make it a little cleaner.
Yes.
Yeah, this was just, I'm
I'm fine with them also using it for a
Yeah.
variety of things, but it just would be cleaner because then we know exactly what our money is planned to be paid for and what they're collecting money for, so it's just
Yeah.
nice and
Yeah.
clean.
And they do a tremendous amount of work.
Oh,
and
I appreciate everything they do. I'm not saying that any of this
I
is
agree.
not what we want to be doing.
But it is confusing.
It's a
It's
little-
confusing because was exactly my point, is that here's these things they'd like to spend dollars on. In some instances, they're seeking approval for donation, which I'm fine, but,
Yeah,
we
it just
are
would make
allocating
it cleaner. I mean, because we have other groups that also want to get donations for stuff too,
Right.
so that would just make it more
It's been a
straightforward.
continual refinement of this process, as
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Every year, we're
It's
going to get
better-
better.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that was just, really my question and my comment on that one. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any public comment on the arts requests? Right, I'd like to,
I move we approve. Do we have to approve each one?
I'm guessing,
we're
yeah,
gonna-
each
Yeah, I
one.
think that'd be the easiest way to keep
I move
track
we
of.
approve the Art Commission work plan request
A second?
of 5,000.
Oops, sorry, I'll second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye, thank you very much. Endurance Capital Committee?
Yeah, so this is an attachment B in the staff report. They're requesting approval of the following work plan, event presence and promotional giveaways for 2150 purchase ECC Endurance Zone brick pillar informational plaques, 2,500, and the website support and maintenance for 350 adds up to a total of 5,000. They're not recommending and requesting any fundraising efforts.
Questions or comments? Public comment? All right, I'll move to approve the Endurance Capital Committee's request for $5,000.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you very much. Economic Development Commission.
So the EDC is proposing 2,000 for Town Hall Series, which is kind of a continuation of what they started this year. Social media and advertisement, 1,500, and the Real Endurance Experience for 1,500, which is a new program that they're proposing.
Questions or comments?
No fundraising also.
I just wanted to comment that I really like the idea of the Real Endurance Experience and seeking folks to do some of that work. You know, what an ingenious way to get the public involved and, very resourceful and economic. I like that. So really excited to see that come out.
I also just wanted, since part of my job is giving money to folks for rebates and things like that, we've already looked at the tax implications and what documents we would need to give to folks for giving away that money and things like that. Just wanted to make sure that's all covered.
I will make sure that we have done that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I move we approve the Economic Development Commission work plan request, 5,000.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you very much. Streetscape History and Art Advisory Committee.
So I did want to just, I have a question, Madam Mayor. The kiosk update number 2, where are the kiosks?
They're in Central Square.
But, I mean, are they those blank things, or what? I'm
No,
just,
They're not blank.
they're not the
They're
pillar.
the pillars with,
One of them is blank, the one that's next to that that was next to the thing that we took down, the art piece.
Yeah, it's the, so,
And that now has the electrical stuff in it. That one's still blank, but there are some that have actual information.
yes, so
on
the
it, too.
so because I want to clarify, because the Endurance Capital of the World Committee is looking at that pillar that has the signage that says Endurance Capital, that's
Yeah.
in our budget.
Right.
Or their budget, well, I'm on the committee.
this is number 2.
And so, yes, but the kiosks, those are those structures that have the big flat piece, is that what, right now, and there's nothing
think
on them?
so. I
Is
don't-
that right? That's
I
what I'm
wouldn't call
asking
it a
about.
kiosk, but yeah.
The one that's in Central Square that's by the fire pit-ish, that's blank. It
Yes.
has all the electrical guts and stuff for all the stuff in Central Square.
There's one over by the vault that
One
has
over by
stuff
the
on
vault.
it, and I don't know where another one is.
There's another one in Central Square that's closer to the Baked and Brew.
I was just trying to understand what the update, what is the update?
The project Jonathan's working on with the maps?
Is that what it is?
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Big head shake, nope.
Is it,
Can,
did I miss it in the shack? It says, "We request funds to update 2 remaining kiosks in Central Square." I just was trying to figure out which kiosks and what are they going to update it with?
I think they are going to, who said the map? You?
no,
No,
but
Jonathan
Jonathan
said no.
said that's not
It's going
it.
to be a map, I
Nope,
believe, to where all the tiles are.
Well, that's
So-
different than Jonathan.
So I guess the question is, were we planning on taking out the one that has the electrical and actually fixing that at some point? Or are we, because if we're putting something on it, then we wouldn't want to do that.
There's a flat section on the top of that
Yeah.
kiosk that's set,
Yeah.
to where you just pop something into it.
Yeah,
So-
if we're planning on getting rid of it because it's kind of random in the middle.
Yeah,
No, we
the
got
city,
rid of one
the
already.
city doesn't
That
have
was a-
specific plans for it, other than
Okay.
it's got all the electrical guts for that.
And then if we're approving the update and all the information and what it looks like and stuff will come back here. We're not approving
No,
that they
I don't-
update it. Same with the kiosk for the endurance stuff. Everything needs to come back here first and then it gets updated, right? 'Cause
I
it's
don't know
signage.
about that. That's not true, because the city manager would, for the kiosk, for example, for Endurance Capital, and Bob is here too, of course, as our chair, but, we were gonna update it because it has races on it that were no longer, from, they don't even have the Auburn International Triathlon anymore, so, we were gonna update that. That wasn't gonna come to the council. It's coming to the council now as a work plan. So that's why I'm just asking about the kiosk. I don't know what it is. And so I just was asking,
And I just want to make sure we're not putting information around town that we don't know what it is or approve that signage should go there. Or, so yeah, I just want to make sure if we're approving people to update kiosks or signage or anything like that, since we're in charge of signage, that we're approving it and looking it over before it gets updated magically.
Well, I think
with our
that
funding.
Sean would look at,
Yeah,
Sean is
the
going to
city,
be, the city.
City would look at it unless the council wants to review.
Well, I don't know what's going on it, so yeah, I'd be interested in knowing if we're putting signage around town that I don't know what's on it.
I guess, really, for me, for the kiosks, I just wanted to know which kiosks and how they were updated. I just don't know, that's all.
That's what I mean. I'd like to know too.
So, I don't know if we could, in this particular instance, we could approve on concept and just ask them, they can provide something to
a
us in
draft,
writing,
show us what it
or
is.
something, so that we know what it is.
We can
Again, the
ensure
shack
that
does
there's,
great work, the tiles, I know what the tiles are, but I just didn't know.
Let's make sure there's a council member at the next shack meeting, and
Who is
myself, I
who-
think Mike might be the
Mike,
appointee.
I
went to the
or
last
we're,
one,
we're
but
kind of
we didn't
splitting
really
it up,
talk
so.
about
Who is the
And
liaison to
Bridget is
shack?
on there too.
We can communicate. We can
yeah.
even.
So
the
let's-
city manager can communicate back that we would request that they come to us and
Yeah, we just
explain what
wanna-
the project is, so we know.
Well, if you're gonna approve it in concept, do you still want them to come back and tell you what they?
We do want to know what it is. We
Yeah.
want to know what it is before.
So I would recommend holding it over, we could put it on the
Yeah.
next
Yeah,
agenda.
then
Okay,
I think that's fine.
We'll take it out of this. We'll take it out of this approval, and then we'll
Put
just
it on
have
the
them
next,
come back
yeah.
and explain what it is
And
before we approve
it's
it.
not that we're not accepting of it. I just want to know what it is. That's
Yeah.
all. There's not enough information here. Because if someone asks me, what is it? I don't know. And then
Right.
so that's my whole concern. So then I would just move to continue this item to our next meeting.
Right.
And to ask Shaq to just give us a little more information.
Could we go ahead and approve the two that we do know what they are?
No, bring it all back.
You want to bring it all back?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then the last one is Sustainability Advisory Committee. It's attachment E in the packet. So requesting $1,250 for continued website maintenance and design refinements. 0 for greenhouse gas emission measurement. 0 for solid waste reduction and organic waste stream redirection. City Hall Police lawn replacement drought tolerant, requesting $1,500 for costs not covered by rebates and contributions. Educational outreach on sustainability and the environment, $250. Tenants and events, 0. Promotion of using alternative forms of transportation to get around town, 0. Water quality and creek clearing improvements, 0. Attendance at events, $500. And improving tree canopy in public areas and along city streets, $1,500. So total request of $5,000. Proposing no fundraising for the activities in the work plan, but continue to seek or plans to seek grant funding. Staff recommends approval of the work plan and the fundraising request. I did want to note, though, that the committee's work plan includes at the bottom of the document other programs and initiatives, and under that is listed, among other things, exploring ways to implement AB 413, the parking daylight ordinance, and then seeking grant funding for solar projects under Prop 5 and other sources. Staff is recommending that the council direct the committee to halt work on AB 413 as the public works director and the contract city engineer are already working on that. And then work that they do could be in contradiction or redundant to what staff's already working on. And then staff's further recommending that council direct the committee to halt work on seeking grant funding for additional solar projects, as the city council has already made it clear that the city is not moving forward with the solar projects until the budget outlook improves or until council directs staff to begin researching alternatives to that. And I can answer questions on that one.
So I wanted to thank the Sustainability Committee. They put together, their proposal is very explanatory. I understand what they're suggesting, and thank you for the detail. I also wanted to thank them for their efforts on the front lawn. It sounds like that's completely funded now through RC, the Resource Conservation District, and Rotary and others. So thank you to the committee for your work on that. I love it when the city doesn't have to spend dollars on a project, so thank you very much for that. I agree with the city manager with regards to the parking daylight ordinance, given the fact that, you know, staff are already doing that, that's a staff function, and the fact that the city already voted on solar, I'm fine with that recommendation as well, and not moving forward with that. I did have questions on, for promotion of using alternative forms of transportation. As you know, I sit on Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, and I'm also on Sacramento Area Council of Governments. And so when I was taking a look at this, is promotion of using alternative forms of transportation, and it's specifically talking about a potential community e-bike program. And I'm concerned with the committee's work in this particular area. You know, this is something where when you have a highly urbanized area where you have transit and people are coming in on transit and then need a way to get to work or to school, and providing e-bikes is that alternative. Auburn, you know, people aren't really, we don't have that level, you know, we have a really, I think our transit program is pretty good. We've adapted. We have not the ride share, but the dial-a-ride, the
On-demand.
On-demand. Thank you very much. I always want to say Uber. We have on-demand, and I think that on-demand has done a tremendous job, and it fills that void. You know, I wouldn't support the city overseeing a program or the city having a program where it's providing e-bikes for folks. I mean, because again, I think about this in a highly urbanized area where, like, you know, somewhere in the Bay Area where someone's taking the BART to get to their office, and if there's a place there, a vendor who's providing e-bikes, they can get off BART, get on their e-bike, go to their office, do their work, and then come back. But in Auburn, I just don't see I just don't see that happening. And the other thing is I'm just really concerned about the city, you know, and our ability to fund something like that. I'm not saying anything against e-bikes. I'm just saying that for the purposes of Auburn, I don't think that that's a great use of our time and energy, and we don't have the funding for that. You know, so, and I think with our on-demand that we really are able to cheaply address that. I mean, it's $3.50 for a ride. So if someone's coming in and they, you know, even if they're being a tourist, they got their bags and so forth, they can just do Auburn On Demand to get to their hotel. So I really don't think that there's a need to move in that particular direction on that issue. So, but my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from sustainability. I have a couple questions.
Hi, Glenn Kramer, Sustainability.
Yes, okay. First of all, with regard to the curb, what was that called? The AB
413.
Yes. Can you explain that a little bit? What sustainability's idea was there?
You know, when I submitted this to Sean, one of the things I said was, look, if you have any questions on what our intent is, that would be appreciated. And that didn't ever happen, so now we're here talking about it. So the AB 413 was a footnote because we know that Mengel's writing a staff report, and it wasn't our intention to do any kind of other work on it. We were waiting for the staff report to come out on the result of it, which we might want to comment on. And what we were disclosing here is that we may want to comment on it when staff develops it. And that was the intent there.
Okay. Well, I think maybe that's something we can always comment on when it's brought forward.
Right. It wasn't meant to be a whole different study that.
Okay. So I think maybe sustainability would be comfortable then just leaving that out right now. And then when it comes out, it's something that sustaability could comment on.
I think anybody could comment. I mean,
Right.
if
Can I have?
Yeah, look, I think.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I think what we were doing here when we were doing these little footnotes at the end, we were trying to do full disclosure about stuff that we may or may not be talking about, so that we didn't step in any pitfalls.
Okay.
Because we're now very sensitive to that. So, so that was the whole idea here. Now, also with regard to the solar project
Yes.
mentioned, there are funds that we think are coming up with regard from Prop 4, which was a $35 million, well, it was a $10 billion bond issue, but $35 million of that is earmarked toward energy improvements for nonprofits and government buildings. And so that hasn't, to my knowledge, been released yet. In addition, ICLEI every once in a while has funding sources. And we're not talking about a shared cost or creating bonded indebtedness that was proposed last time. We're talking about trying to get a grant to get it done. And
Fully funded?
right,
Okay.
yeah.
And any comment on the e-bike?
Yeah, I understand what Alice is saying, because the vendor that had come in and made a presentation to us is from Marin County, and they have the new smart transit system, which provides a backbone, and they have 7 stations, and they fund e-bikes at every station, and it allows them to do a well thought out plan, and they have support for it, and it's growing, and it's a grant. It's a grant from Marin County and Sonoma County. So when we were talking about them, that was one of the questions that we had in mind, is where would you go, and how would you implement such a program? So we would like to continue to talk with them to see what their ideas are. One of the things that we had talked about in the committee was, well, maybe they could work in tandem with the bus system to be able to go down to the Auburn Park area, State Park area, and allow for some sort of interface with that. And beyond that, where else would you go? And then that's a question we would ask to them, and then we'd come back to staff, and staff could present it to council. So that was what that was all about.
And also possibility of connecting Old Town, downtown, since they're.
Correct.
Downtown is talking about buying DBA is talking about buying shuttles and that kind of thing. This could bridge that gap.
Also to the airport.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, and there was a presentation, and the individual thought that Auburn is a community that could actually have this. He wanted to review the ATP and.
Right, and I think that's the other thing we were waiting on, was the active transportation plan to get adopted. But I would encourage the council to allow us to get further their ideas on this.
I
Go
think
ahead.
it's still my turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, again, I think unfortunately, I think in a lot of these, we're getting into the weeds. I think we have to have a little more trust here with our committees, and I certainly respect every single committee and what they do, and it's, to me, a lot of these things that we're questioning are things that I think could be dealt with. We have a city manager, very brilliant man, Sean, and a little louder. So I just, again, for us to sit up here and argue over enthusiasm that these committees bring, there's no reason for it. I've been to the meetings, and I can attest that the sustainability has proceeded very carefully on things. Everything comes back. So my position is that, well, first of all, I would like to ask the attorney here. So, for, we have a directive, we had a directive during solar apparently, and I guess my question is, to change a directive, you need 2 people to bring it back? Is that it? Is that what you're going to tell us here?
Yeah, so you do need to follow your process for putting it onto a future agenda and then have a council majority provide different direction. I think that's what the city manager is referring to in the staff report.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a need to overturn the past vote, though, provided that you're giving different direction in some substantial way. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, you know, I think, you know, I certainly see where the city manager is coming from. You know, you're put in a very hard position. And at during the solar vote, there was a lot of discussion, and I'm not clear. It didn't come clear across to me, and I did go back and look at some of the notes and reviewed some of the aspects. It wasn't clear to me that it was a blanket directive that, you know, solar in any aspect, especially what was explained here, could not be looked into. And for me, a directive not to do something, just to me, something that could potentially benefit our city at no cost does not make any sense. You know, we sit here and we all know we're talking about sales tax. Possibly, we're entertaining that idea because, you know, our city needs more revenue, and then we're shutting down a committee and giving them a directive not to continue to try to look for opportunities to maximize our opportunities for revenue or to cut cost. To me, that makes no sense. So again, I personally think I understand about the AB 413. I think we should approve the rest of the plan as is. And again, sustainability is not going to come forward and spend any money. If you look closely at their work plan, it's just to explore grants. I think that was very specific. So that's my position. And I don't, again, you know, I'm very disappointed that we're having to go into the weeds here. So.
All right. Thank you. I just had a couple quick things just to add to the conversation. I did have a question about the tree canopy and the $1,500. And I know you're looking at how to spend that money. I just didn't understand what the $1,500 would be used for in order to do that.
We're not sure either, but we have.
I can answer that, actually.
Well, okay.
Because the tree canopy, if you've gone down High Street and seen all the trees?
Yeah, no, I understand what it is. I just didn't know if you were planning on paying for a study or what the $1,500 was.
Yeah, that it's to help facilitate that with the DBA, who have gone around. If you haven't seen them,
yeah,
they have the bags,
no, I've seen
and they're
them
all along High Street.
Yeah, no,
And so
they're
that's-
great. I just wanted to figure out what the
No,
$1,500
and I'm trying to
yeah.
answer your question,
Okay.
not in a defensive way.
Okay.
So Mike might even want to add more.
Okay.
Mike.
It could be any number of things.
Okay.
Rachel, we feel like we've sort of expended all of our goodwill from our local landscape architect
Okay.
firm using their services. And they've done a great job for us, as you can see.
Plans take money. I get that.
Yeah. And we don't really want to pursue anything that might require their services again without having some plan for how to compensate them. If we have an area where we want to look at a planting plan, an irrigation type of installation, we kind of need their expertise.
Okay.
On that, so that's what we.
Well, I think people should be paid for their skills and
Yeah.
services, so I'm fine
Yeah,
with
that's
that. I just
kinda
wanted to check.
Yeah, that's it.
And, you know, toward that, I'll give you an example. Is one area is the area in front of Ace Hardware there, along the.
Yeah, there's no way to water anything there, so.
Well, there's no.
Oh, you just put in watering stuff,
We
right?
put in conduit. That was one of the things that I had done for that project,
'Cause
was
we
to
had
put
that issue
conduit
before.
along the sidewalk so that water can be put in there. So,
Right. So there are some opportunities for beautification. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
Okay, perfect. That would be wonderful. We'd love that. Okay, I agree with the waiting on the 413. That seems like it is just something that once staff gets done, then you are welcome to comment on. We'd love to have your feedback. As far as the e-bikes are concerned, I've worked on this with a lot of different folks as far as the e-bike like rental company kind of thing. The hard part is they tend to be left random places and become safety hazards because they're just kind of left randomly, and we don't really have
That's
great.
not, Rachel, that really isn't. No, but I just have to interrupt you because I have to clarify, this company and B-Cycle, if you've seen them, they do not do, that's probably why they're so expensive.
This is what's happened with many different biking and scooter and all those kind of companies all over the place. So I mean, it may be different. They may be the magical one that doesn't have that happen, but people tend to just leave stuff places. So I'd be worried about that as a safety issue, especially since we already have a lot of ADA stuff as far as sidewalks and things like that are. So at this point, the other big thing for me is I love that we have the active transportation plan. It needs a lot of bike lanes. We don't have most of the ones we need. So having people who maybe don't own their own bike and are borrowing a bike, careening down the very steep hills in Auburn without bike lanes and being in traffic, I don't think that's the best plan. I'd love to get the bike lanes put in place, and once we have the safety element there, then we talk about adding the bikes.
I think the 2 questions or 2 points you brought up are reasons to go ahead and explore this, because the vendor has solutions for those particular points. Because, everybody's gone to Reno and seen the Bird scooters that are all over the place, and they become a nuisance. But they say, no, we don't do that, and here's how we don't allow for that. And they also, once they're in a community, they have an active education plan that for the subscription service, they conduct free bike safety plans or classes to where when they have a subscriber list, they can say, hey, we're going to be here. And so it would offer the improvement of bike safety. So I think these are questions that we would like to continue to explore.
So yeah, I think it's worth a presentation to council so we can hear more about it, but not ready to move any more than just getting a presentation to hear some more about it and get questions answered.
Yeah, Madam Vice Mayor, also, I have a meeting set up with one of the members of the Sustainability Committee. It's actually still getting firmed up. And one of the companies because I don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah.
And so I can't really speak, like this is a good thing, bad thing, whatever. Make a recommendation one way or the other because I don't know anything about it. So
We also would need to be careful because they're not the only vendors who do this. So we need a competitive process. So if they give a presentation, we need to be open to having a presentation from anyone who wants to come
100%.
here. And so we got to make sure we work with Gary to make sure we're walking that line and not talking to any
Yep.
vendor too much, because if we do, they could get disqualified from the process.
Right, 100%.
So I want to make sure that we do that too.
I
And be
think
careful
we're
about
not
that.
making any commitments to vendors. We're not asking for any money. But
No.
I think we are asking to be able to explore this further to where we can flush out the answers to your questions. And perhaps there is a use for them on a limited basis somewhere. And then once you do that, you have to find the funding for it. I mean, this could be a $150,000 project. I mean, that's what they're spending in some of the areas. So
Then I would just ask you to look at it at a high level and not talk to just one specific vendor, because we don't want to make them disqualified in case we happen to go out and want to contract with a vendor for this. So you just have to look at it and investigate the concept and different ways that people do stuff, talk to other cities that have it without talking to a specific vendor too much. So I just don't want us to get put in a tough spot as far as purchasing. And then as far as the solar grants go, I'm fine with you all looking at solar grants all you want yourself. I would ask you if you want to do anything that involves any kind of staff time, that you would need to come back to us, because we don't have a lot of staff time, and I know Menjel and Sean have a lot of things going on. So if you want to investigate solar grants, you could make a list and hand them to Menjel. So if he ever happens to want to do a solar project, he has them available. But staff needs to, if we're going to apply to any of the grants, staff has to be the one to apply to grants. So we just want to make sure, if you guys want to spend your time looking for them and making staff available, know they're available, and if that gets prioritized and we decide to move forward with something, then we know that exists. But I just wanted to make sure the city manager knows that we're not going to allocate staff time to do that, because we've got other things like getting the general plan and many other things that we've been working on for years that we
Fundraising
need to
for the 4th of July.
Councilwoman Riddle Harris, I just want to make sure I understand. You're saying that if they want to go out and explore options,
Yeah,
they can
if
just
they
give a
wanna do
list to the
research.
city and that's it.
Yeah.
And then the city, if staff want to come up with a solar project, so be it, we've got some, but if not,
'Cause
then
we've
they
talked
have
about-
the list. Because we've already talked about,
We've talked about this. We've talked about the fact we still need to figure out a plan for the wastewater treatment plant. Maybe this would be a good opportunity if we end up trying to figure that piece out. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be bad for us to know what grants are out there. This isn't a priority for staff at the moment, so I just don't want staff to get dragged into grant applications and things like that, which are pretty time intensive.
So I don't have a problem if the committee wants to just look at what grants.
Mm-hmm.
What I do have a problem with is looking at specific grants for specific places. For example, here's a grant so you can put solar on the the fire station, Mighty Fire Station, or something of that.
They could say this might be a good fit for the fire station, but then if we're not doing a fire station project for 2 or 3 more years, we'll have to make sure that grant's still available. I don't see any problem with them doing research and figuring out what's
I just don't
available.
want to,
But we're not approving any staff time, and staff time
Yes.
would be required in order to apply for any grant and do any additional work.
it's just a list of grants that would be provided to the city, and if the city decides to move forward with something, then
They know what's available.
they know what's available.
Yeah.
I'm okay with just information. I just don't want to waste anybody's time with solar proposals at this point in time.
At this
So
point,
I want to make it
I
for
would
my
say
own
the city
clarity.
manager and staff need to come back and talk to us before they spend staff time on any solar projects, because we've already agreed that we don't want to, at this point, we've got other projects that are higher priority.
I think the committee and the city manager is well aware of that constraint. I don't think that's a problem for us.
And that's what I think it'd be fine.
Kind of what we're asking.
Thank you. Is that enough direction to your committee? Cool.
So.
Mike, do you have any comments, questions? Okay. And any public comment? Great. I will move to approve the Sustainability Advisory Committee work plan for $5,000, given the direction of not moving forward with solar projects or with projects.
Only
Yeah,
doing
research
research for
is fine.
e-bikes and
Yeah.
solar.
Yeah.
And then not doing the AB 413 piece.
So without
I'll
AB
second.
413 and sticking to research.
Okay, so just.
I'll second.
For the purposes of the motion, I
Mhm.
just want to make sure I'm clear, is that you're recommending approval of the work plan with the exception of discussion on AB 413, and any grant funding information is just that, information for staff.
Yes, and the e-bike would also be just
And
informational.
the e-bike, and it's the same thing, it's any information that's gleaned is just to be given to staff, should staff choose to move forward, or should 2 council members choose to move forward
Yeah.
on a subsequent agenda. And we're not providing direction that the council approves, moving in that direction at this time. We're saying you can seek information, give it to staff, and then if 2 council members or staff want to bring it forward, so be it. Okay, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I think we did.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amar.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye.
And then I'll bring back Shaq on June 1st.
Thank you very much, City Manager. Let's see, back to here, we have item 11, fiscal year 2026-27, budget development and fiscal year 25-26, quarter 3 update.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Gretchen Hoskins, your finance director. So tonight is a little review of what we've been working on for the budget development process for fiscal year 26-27. For the past month or so, departments and their teams have been preparing their budget requests, which have been submitted. So after a presentation of where we're at with current year third quarter projections and high-level budget overview, the focus tonight will be on department head presentations, where they have a chance to get in front of the council and discuss a forward-looking look at their budgets and their challenges and successes. So a little bit of background, our mid-year financial update back in February, we were projecting a general fund balance of $362,000. A couple days earlier than that, we know that we had a storm drain emergency repair. Didn't know how much that was going to be or the implications at that time, but it ended up costing $1.4 million. So that cost was unanticipated. We are still hoping to get some insurance funds to cover a portion of that cost, but it looks like we will need to use city reserves once all is said and done for the current fiscal year. So the third quarter projection is looking like we're going to end the current fiscal year of 25-26 with no general fund carryover fund balance. And we're still waiting on sales tax revenue for the current year, which is unpredictable. So as we look at, and I'll show this on the next slide, we have an updated general fund projection and a multi-year forecast. But I wanted to mention what's not yet included in that when the numbers appear on the screen. So we're still in labor negotiations for the upcoming fiscal year, so those factors have not been included in the projection yet. Still waiting on current year sales tax results, capital improvement plan. Right on the heels of our budget is going to be a capital improvement plan that we're waiting a little bit longer through the budget process to see where we end up, to see if we can actually make recommendations on some of the fulfillments being needed as part of that plan. And then, of course, the insurance claim reimbursement for the storm drain, still waiting on that and what the reserve use implications will be. The bottom line here is that we will definitely be delivering a balanced budget when we come back next month for the proposed and final budget. We've accounted for, in terms of our estimates, all of the things that are not yet factored into the projection that are likely to occur. We've factored them in as part of an estimate to ensure that we're going to be delivering a balanced budget and we're not going to further impact a potential deficit situation by making choices without being confident about them. So our reserves policy, if you'll recall, was recently updated, and there's a trigger in there. If we do end up having to use reserves for one-time use, for the one-time storm drain repair, it may, depending on the amount, trigger the replenishment of those reserves. So any type of fund balance that we see in future years, a portion of that, depending on where we end up, will need to be factored into replenishing reserves. All of that factors into our multi-year general fund projection. So as you can see, in the middle is where we're at. We have a projected no insurance funds, et cetera. Nothing's been factored into this fiscal year 25-26 deficit of 1.1 million. I am almost certain, almost positive that that will get better. By how much, we're not sure yet. It just depends on how revenues materialize and the hopeful insurance funds that we are hoping to get. For fiscal year 26-27, right there in the middle, you'll see that is 0. That just reflects the shift from actual activities occurring in our finances to now we're in budget. And budget is always going to be a zero balanced budget where our revenues equal our expenditures. So that doesn't signify that there won't be enough money to cover what we've not yet factored into the budget. It's just we commit to bringing a balanced budget to the council. The future years are the forecast of what we know now. Does not factor in future labor costs, but it also doesn't factor in any new revenue diversification efforts, such as the cannabis ordinance, et cetera, if those start to kick in. So that's pretty flat there in terms of the projection, but the point is that even with that, we're razor thin on some choices that we can make year over year over year, especially if we want to further our capital improvement plan once that gets established. So with the budget development process, at this point, we'll continue to adjust the budget a little bit over the next couple of weeks, and then bring on June 1st the proposed budget to the council for consideration and discussion. And then up next, we're going to shift now to department head presentations. I have been selected with the city manager, Sean, to do the first presentation related to all of our administration budgets. So each department head is going to be talking about our priorities, challenges, and successes as we move forward with the new budget. Administration departments include a lot of departments, so including your own city council, their city manager, city clerk, finance, human resources, and information technology factored in. Our total budgets are $2.7 million. 1.7 million of that is our personnel costs. However, we're able to allocate out to the sewer and airport and closed landfill funds 743,000 of that. We have an external revenue source, mostly our business license tax. We have a couple of others too, of 228,000, but our general fund cost at the end of the day is estimated at 1.7 million. Operational priorities across all of the departments. I would say the strategic plan development and implementation is the umbrella of all of these things. So we're looking at new revenue identification and diversification, certainly a priority as we're trying to further our ability to do new projects and innovate new processes. We are increasing efficiencies throughout all of these departments and others too by utilizing the software that we have and other solutions. There's discussions about improving our performance evaluation process, including the required trainings and how those are provided to staff and fulfilled, policy updates. We're contracting out our business license. That's going to be implemented over the next month or so, and a new accounts receivable software solution. We have an upcoming election, and that's part of definitely a priority coming up to prepare for that. Greater precision with our financial reporting and accounting standards. Finance department will be focusing heavily on that this upcoming year and beyond. And then, of course, enhancing our employee engagement to strengthen our culture is a priority as well. So with those priorities come budget challenges, and it's becoming more clear, not just in our area, but all areas, that the cost of doing business is increasingly exceeding available general fund revenues. We're also looking at our employee retention and attracting talent as a challenge, how to get the right people in for the right jobs, and also succession planning with the people we do have. The external regulatory environment tends to stall our progress. We want to go, go, go and get things done, but we have to be careful in making sure that we do everything correctly. Our innovations are limited to those existing resources, which is, again, it just prevents progress as fast as we would like. And then internal policies and procedures tend to be slower than we would also like to materialize due to competing priorities.
I would just add to this that one of the things I say to staff is that we have infinite problems and finite solutions, right? Because we have all these things that the city wants to do, council priorities that we want to implement, CIP, all of these things, and our biggest issue right now has been the fiscal situation that the city's in. I talked before about kind of feeling like we're just treading water or running in quicksand or whatever the different thing that you want to toss out is. The identification and diversification of new revenue for us is going to be critical, and I'm sure Jonathan's going to talk about that also. But there's a lot of things that the city wants to do that we get stuck not being able to do because of resources, whether that's internal with staffing or finance or whatever. And then also the different pressures from the state and everything else that we have to do certain things and try to figure out how to pay for all that stuff. So it's a continual issue that we're going to that we'll be facing until we start identifying new revenue. The other thing that I wanted to talk about too is the competing priorities on the bottom there. I think that without having a CIP, we tend to just kind of jump to different projects that come up. And so getting that CIP is going to be a real critical thing for us. Same with the thing with the strategic plan. Without the strategic plan and the CIP, we're just kind of floating around without a whole lot of rudder and guardrails on where we're going. So looking forward to get those done as soon as possible. Strategic plan will be to the council hopefully June 1st for consideration and approval.
Okay, a little bit on our successes. So we are thankful for a forward-thinking city council. You've been able to address our fiscal shortfall and incorporate ideas from staff. We've had recent staffing reorganizations that have allowed us to maximize our personnel without adding new employee costs. We're continually adapting to changes, overcoming challenges, automating routine tasks, and then, of course, our communication with the public has increased on city events, city manager report, and other methods as well.
Sorry, and to piggyback on that also, just talked about the kind of running in quicksand feeling that we have, but at the same time, we're getting a lot of stuff done for the staff that we have and the budget that we have. So I think that council setting those goals for us and priorities, really, we should be applauding you for the stuff that you are encouraging us to do. One of the things I really appreciate is, and I try to impress on staff, is it's okay for us to try something out, and if it doesn't work, we can pivot as long as we're not, wasting public money, of course, but trying new things and being proactive about things. I really do appreciate that staff is working on that with council's direction and guidance also. So just wanted to toss that in there.
Okay, I think that is the end of our administration council. So before I toss it over to the remaining department heads, any questions about the admin departments?
Questions? Mr. Holmes, any questions? Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
sorry, Alice's check.
That didn't, building inspection, does that include it in this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so just to the end of city manager. Okay. No.
Thank you very much.
Right, Mr. Wright.
Could you tell us what budgets you're talking about, what pages on, so we can follow along? I mean,
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening,
Please.
Council. Jonathan Wright, Economic Development Director. I did not bring up, do you have what page it's on? I didn't print the packet.
I'm just trying to follow along, so, because when you grouped all the other ones together, like, I went through the staff report, and, like, I have questions on page 163, but whether or not that was under, that's the problem. But anyway, go ahead. Okay, that's would be the better for me. It'd be easier because I didn't do it the way you're presenting it. There's no problem with that, but
I realized after reading my staff report the last time that I need to actually start wearing glasses more often.
oh, you and me, bro, both.
Right.
I got
So this presentation outlines the Economic Development Department's proposed 26-27 priorities. It reflects a focused effort to position Auburn for stronger long-term economic resilience during our current period of fiscal constraints. So under this, as you can see, basically a department of one working with the city manager on economic development. A little bit of revenue coming in there from the entertainment zone permits that will again be coming in this next year as soon as we get done with the new ordinance, and then the cost allocation for staff as well as our project lists. Lots of things on the list there, I apologize. The city's economic development efforts for the upcoming fiscal year are centered on a series of coordinated operational priorities designed to strengthen long-term economic resilience, support business growth, and enhance regional competitiveness. A key focus will be on the development and implementation of an economic strategic plan that will guide the city's economic priorities. On the regulatory policy side, I will continue with the development of a cannabis ordinance consistent with council direction. In addition, I will continue to target municipal updates to reduce barriers and improve conditions for business development and reinvestment. I will also focus on expanding transient lodging opportunities, including hotels and short-term rentals, which of course translates into TOT tax, as well as supporting tourism growth, increasing overnight stays, which directly contributes to local economic activity and the city's position as a destination. A major emphasis over the next year will be placed on increasing developer outreach with recruitment efforts. This includes identifying and engaging large retailers, potential investors, and development partners for key opportunity sites, as well as pursuing annexation opportunities for commercial and industrial lands to support Auburn's long-term growth. I also continue to advance the entertainment zone initiatives, including both promotion and potential expansion, as a tool to increase vitality for the two business districts and enhance visitor experience. I will also I will also continue to work with local business districts to align on economic development needs, strategies, and ensuring coordinated efforts that reflect the district's priorities. The city continues to face fiscal constraints that directly impact the ability to advance large or aggressive economic development initiatives. One of the most significant challenges is limited marketing capacity. This restricts the city's ability to conduct sustained and broad promotional campaigns. There's also these types of campaigns greatly influence the attraction of visitors, investment, and new businesses. In addition, the city currently lacks access to economic data tools, which typically are used to better understand industry trends, identify opportunities, and target recruitment efforts. Another constraint is the access of local grant and business loan programs to support early-stage business development and business expansion. Without these tools, the city has limited ability to directly incentivize entrepreneurship or reduce financial barriers for new and expanding businesses. The city zoning code also presents challenges. Outdated provisions often require time-consuming project-specific zoning amendments to accommodate or encourage development. This creates delays, increases administrative workload, and reduces predictability for both applicants and staff. Finally, there's currently no identified funding source for the Old Town Central Square project, which was the outcome of the Old Town ARPA projects. While we managed to nearly complete the downtown wayfinding project with the help and partnership of Old Town, this project remains without funding but ready to go. Over the past year, the city's economic development program has achieved many notable successes across marketing, business support, and downtown and Old Town revitalization efforts, all while supporting the ATP project, general plan project, Auburn-Bowman Connection Assessment, and helping manage their associated grants. Let's see. Our investment in social media and digital marketing, as was relayed earlier by the Old Town and Downtown Business Association, is successful. Digital marketing capacity has resulted in measurable growth in outreach and engagement. In support of business development, the city established a grant program that directly contributed to the successful opening of 2 new key businesses in Old Town. This program has demonstrated the value of targeted financial assistance in catalyzing investment and activating vacant buildings. Vacant commercial building abatement efforts have also produced visible improvements, resulting in multiple vacant properties being improved. In the hospitality sector, the city completed a hotel feasibility study and successfully identified a development partner that has been working with the city, and we are reasonably confident that the will yield a hotel in Auburn. Finally, collaboration between Old Town and Downtown Business Association has strengthened significantly. This alignment represents a major step forward towards creating a consistent and coordinated identity for the city's business districts. In closing, these efforts reflect a focused and steadily advancing economic development program that is delivering tangible results despite financial constraints. Moving forward, success will depend on sustained gains, prioritized high-impact investment, and leveraging partnerships to expand the city's capacity to compete against other cities and grow Auburn. That's it.
Can I add too on the economic development that one of the things that we've put in, that we're proposing to put in the upcoming budget is money for a contract for a marketing firm. So that'll be included in this upcoming year's budget to start pushing out more marketing that we don't do currently to different channels, print, billboards, all that kind of stuff, to get people to know to stop and come here more often.
Oh, goodness, I get to keep going. I apologize to everybody.
Put the glasses away.
It's back on, it's back on. As everybody knows, the airport plays a vital role in supporting aviation and economic development in the region. It supports logistics and travel for regional employers, attracts aviation-related services and investment, and contributes to local job creation. It also serves as a critical public safety asset, supporting state and county law enforcement, air operations, medical transports, fire response coordination, and disaster response operations. I can't see that far. So this is a enterprise fund, so there's a number of funds that are already there's reserve funds that are contained within there. The personnel expenses are for myself and Ty. Operational costs are all those things that go into managing the airport or putting away for capital. And as you can see, the majority of our revenues come from leases, fees, or property taxes, and in some cases, grants. The operational priorities for fiscal year 26-27 remained focused on maintaining a safe and reliable airfield environment. The continued safe operation of aircraft is the airport's highest priority, ensuring compliance with all applicable safety standards and federal regulations while maintaining a safe and accessible facility for pilots, tenants, and visitors. Ongoing maintenance of critical infrastructure also remains a key priority. This includes all airport systems, surfaces, and utilities such as navigation and operational instruments, storm drain, lighting, and airfield infrastructure. These systems are essential to the sustaining safety and uninterrupted operation across all weather and usage conditions. To this end, airfield pavement maintenance will continue to be placed at the forefront of this next year's budget. Recent increases in fuel and construction costs have temporarily delayed pavement maintenance efforts as staff works to manage expenditures and secure the most cost-effective pricing for ratepayers and airport users. Finally, continued upkeep of Auburn Airport buildings and facilities will remain necessary to support tenants, preserve functionality, and ensure the airport continues to operate as a well-maintained and dependable public asset. Key budget constraints and ongoing challenges for the Airport Enterprise Fund continue to grow. While demand for hangar space continues to increase, the airport is geographically and physically constrained, and remaining developable land is limited. Much of the airport's available property is also encumbered by a landfill, further restricting expansion opportunities. In addition, the airport currently lacks the funding and available land in order to develop new property at a scale that is required for the growth of the airport. Funding for ongoing airfield maintenance includes runway, taxiway, and ramp improvements, also a significant challenge. These projects further impacted by rising construction and petroleum-related costs, which directly affect asphalt production and paving expenses. While federal grant funding is available to support some of these types of improvements, the timing, availability, and certainty of those allocations remain unpredictable, making long-term planning more complex. A long-term operational need for the airport is the extension of the runway for better accommodation, to better accommodate the existing aircraft fleet mix and enhance overall safety. The project is estimated to be a multi-million-dollar investment and represents a critical infrastructure improvement for the future viability and flexibility of airport operations. Finally, the airport terminal building continues to age, resulting in increased maintenance costs over time. While the facility has served the city well for many years, a replacement terminal building has been identified as a long-standing need. However, the cost of construction remains well beyond the current funding capacity. Staff will continue to pursue grant opportunities and other funding sources in an effort to position this project for future advancements when feasible. Airport Enterprise Fund has achieved several notable programs and service successes that continue to strengthen both financial performance and long-term development potential. A key initiative has been the active evaluation of existing leases to ensure that appropriate fair market value adjustments have occurred. This ongoing lease maintenance effort has resulted in improved and more sustainable revenue generation for the airport while maintaining equitable lease practices. In addition, staff have implemented an innovative approach to hangar development by allowing hangars to be constructed through vacant land leases. This is a practice that we still encourage, although our readily developable land base was diminished by the development of the East End Hangar Complex, leaving only infill or redevelopment opportunities and vacant ground without support facilities. The airport is actively engaged with multiple developers to lease remaining available areas. These efforts are focused on maximizing the productive use of all possible parts of the airport in order to continue to grow the airport within its current footprint. Despite challenges related to limited land availability, rising construction costs, and constrained capital funding, the airport is making measurable progress and improving revenues, maximizing essential assets, and positioning itself for future development opportunities. Continued focus on proactive lease administration and pursuit of grant funding will be essential to maintaining the momentum and ensuring the Auburn Airport remains safe, functional, and a viable public asset for the community. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's about as dry as it gets.
So for you, Alice, I did print out my slide 202. Page 202 starts the planning department, if you needed to follow along.
The slide or the staff report?
In the staff report? Okay, if that helps. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tia Klump, your planning director. Tonight, I'm presenting the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27 for the planning department, which also includes the building division, hence building inspections. This budget reflects a continued focus on maintaining core services, improving efficiency, supportive, responsible development within the city. And as you can see, total budgets, 879, 560, the majority of that being allocated to personnel, reflecting the service-based nature of the department. On the revenue side, the department remains largely fee-supported, generating from planning and building applications, along with funds from other government sources. Wrong way. So, key priorities. This year's budget is centered around three main priorities. First, staff development and training. We are continuing to invest in certifications and ongoing education to strengthen in-house expertise and reduce reliance on outside consultants. This investment directly supports staff who are already demonstrating a strong commitment to professional growth. Second, technology advancements. We are continuing implementation of our permitting software. We went live just about a year ago. It's already improving workflow efficiency, reducing processing times, increasing transparency for applicants. Staff have played a critical role in adapting these changes and helping refine the systems. Third, long-range planning efforts, including updates to our very, how many varies can I say, outdated zoning code to comply with the ever-changing state requirements. So, of course, there's some challenges with this that we continue to address. Completely full implementation and optimization of our permitting software. I tell Michael, our building official who is here in the audience, that if the building official gig doesn't work out, he can probably be a computer software app designer. He's gotten in on the back end of our permitting software and has made huge improvements. Managing ongoing zoning updates, regulatory changes, transitioning, this is a big one, from paper records to digital systems, i.e. scanning and archiving. If you are familiar or have ever been down to the basement, there's lots and lots of drawers and cabinets of old paper files that we definitely need to get scanned and archived in our digital system. Replacement of older past useful life of our building inspection and building official vehicles with increased maintenance costs. But even though with these challenges, staff continue to remain solution-oriented and focused on improving service delivery. So some of those successes, these accomplishments that we've had over the last year, despite these challenges, we have made significant progress. Successful rollout of our digital permitting software, as I mentioned, we're just about a year over that, and we're still making some implementation, some tweak changes on the back end. Improved permitting efficiency and workflow automation, increased collaboration across city departments. We've enhanced consistency in our project review. And most importantly, we've reduced dependence on outside consultants through staff development. Not only we've done that, is our projects that are coming through on the planning side for planning applications were developer-funded projects. So therefore, it's limiting the staff time that we have to spend on it, and it's offsetting third-party consultant fees because the developer is paying for those upfront. Again, the continuing education certification within the departments is helping with that, less dependent on outside consultants. We're becoming experts in our own field, therefore we're not having to reach out. So again, these accomplishments are a direct reflection of staff initiative, adaptability, their ongoing commitment to improve how the department serves the public. In closing, I think that's it. In closing, I do want to thank my very small, but he's here, Michael Pinola, our building official on the building side. He's made a huge improvement since he's been here over the last year, and what he has been able to do and for staff to accomplish. It's been a big deal. Their continued effort to improve the process and expand that expertise is very appreciative. So that's all I have in closing. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, we're just going to have questions at the end so I can go to the page number of the staff report versus the slide deck.
Was it the right page?
So you gave me the page for the slide deck, which was great, but I wrote my questions based on the staff report, so. But thank you. I could follow along on the slide deck. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, Brian Morrison, your chief of police. Shifting to the public safety side of the presentation, Tia set the bar awfully high. I cannot provide you with any updates as far, or page numbers, I'm sorry. She at least tried. That being said, our proposed police department budget for the 26-27 fiscal year is roughly $5.9 million with a personnel allocation of $5 million and operations roughly $900,000. The police department works on several external revenue sources, roughly bringing in approximately $1 million. Some of that is through government agency assistance through grants and state allocations, and some of those are included below. Prop 172 is a public safety tax measure that was implemented in 1993. AB 109 was also funded for early release, in which the city receives $100,000 annually. That was implemented in 2011. Of course, we have some asset forfeiture funds and then various grants that staff decides to seek an interest in and try and write. Most recently, some of our bigger successes is the CHP Cannabis Grant, which we've, last year we brought over $300,000 in revenue to the city in terms of some overtime, as well as equipment such as cars and equipment to help keep the officers safe as they're testing narcotics. All right, moving on to operational priorities. I think you'll see somewhat of a common theme as we move through the slides in the different departments. Training and professional development is definitely one that the PD also shares with our counterpart departments. The police department, where we look at our larger agencies, they rely on the-job training where you're going through high frequency of calls for service. Fortunately, the city of Auburn, we don't see those frequency of calls, so we rely heavily upon traditional training, as I like to call it, which is sending our folks to schools to keep up with those agencies that have a higher frequency of calls and get the on-the-job training. So when we talk about training and professional development, a large part of our budget is devoting time and funds to send our people to that training specifically. I thank the city manager for continuing to make that a priority within our budget. Other public safety and force multiplying software, those are also priorities for us as we look at some of those pieces of software. We look at Flock Safety. I know it's been somewhat of a hot topic, and the reality is that Flock Safety helps us do our job out there as far as an investigative tool and a tool to help us locate individuals who may end up missing and so on and so forth. We look at Live 911. For those of you who aren't aware of what Live 911 is, that is as I mentioned during the last session, we function with one dispatcher per shift. That one dispatcher per shift, with this piece of Live 911 software, a 911 call comes into the communications center, and it automatically, an officer can click on their computer in the car, click on it, while the dispatcher focuses on obtaining information regarding what is going on. The officers can also hear exactly what's going on and begin responding to the call without having to seek a lot of information from the dispatcher. So it's force multiplier there. Case X, we're looking at testing that piece of software out, which will essentially be an online reporting system, which would be beneficial to the community. The community would have the option of either having a police officer respond, or should their schedules be cram-packed and not able to wait for an officer to respond, they can go ahead and file low priority or misdemeanor crimes themselves through a scan code. CARTA, we're currently testing CARTA, which is also a force multiplier for us. CARTA is an AI system that essentially takes our body cam footage and authors essentially the report, with officers having to go over and review it and ensure that what the AI generated document is reported as accurately and having occurred. Axon body-worn cameras, those are working in partnership with CARTA as force multipliers as well. And then moving on to the last bullet point up there, we're the host agency for the Placer County Law Enforcement Awards ceremony for the next 2 years. That's a ceremony that occurs annually, which recognizes the hard work from all of our allied agencies within the Placer County region. That being said, this year and next year, we are responsible for hosting that dinner and awards ceremony. Budget constraints and challenges. Essentially, these are all part of our operations costs. Vehicle purchases and phase out in terms of replacement, that becomes a challenge for us. Lately we've been, or in past years, we've been relying heavily upon asset forfeiture, radio infrastructure and maintenance upgrades. We were in contract several years ago with a company that went out of business in terms of providing annual maintenance for our radio system. We're currently utilizing a local company on a call-out basis to address any of those issues. We're looking at trying to find a maintenance upgraded program to go ahead and help us ensure that we have a reliable radio infrastructure. And then lastly, our mobile data computers and phasing those out and replacing them. Currently, we don't have a budget set for that. However, as many computers, they do become very obsolete quickly, so we're looking at trying to come up with a phase-out replacement program there. And lastly, if we look at some of our department successes, some of these are in the works, so to speak. One of our officers wrote a grant into the Office of Traffic Safety, currently waiting approval. That would bring on a traffic unit, which would obviously help address some of the issues that we were discussing earlier during the council meeting in terms of motorist safety as well as pedestrian bicyclist safety. That would also bring in overtime designated to improve traffic safety, reduce impaired driving. And lastly, I believe there is some requests for bollards to help with some of our parade safety concerns. And then lastly down there, establishing the Auburn Police Foundation, nonprofit. Those goals would be set to supporting a potential K-9 unit, enhancing our current drone program, supporting employee wellness, and supporting youth and community outreach. And that wraps up the police report.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. John Rogers, your fire chief. This evening we'll start with our 2026-2027 budget for the fire department, estimated at a little over $3.6 million. Almost $2.8 million of those dollars going to fund personnel and just over $800,000 to fund operations. External revenue sources for 26-27 estimated at $370,000. That revenue will be received from multiple fuel reduction grants, fees in permitting, and Prop 172 funds. Also highlighted up on the board is the California Fire Assistance Agreement reimbursements. That isn't factored into our budget for 26-27 because we only see those funds if we deploy equipment. So total impact to the general fund for 26-27 is just over $3.2 million. Wrong way. All right, outside of our three mission critical areas, the fire department's operational priorities for fiscal year 26-27 include the following. We're participating in the countywide effort to improve interoperability by integrating fire dispatch systems utilizing a third-party software platform. This transition will streamline dispatching and allow resources to be deployed across jurisdictions and 5 fire dispatch centers in the county more quickly. Although Auburn Fire does not operate its own dispatch center, we will be responsible for a portion of the system's costs. And as a result of that, our cooperative services agreement with CAL FIRE for dispatch services in fiscal year 26-27 will increase. We're also transitioning to the county's new mobile tablet command platform, which provides real-time incident data, standardized templates, and improved mapping. This system enhances our operational efficiency, not only for the city of Auburn, but all fire agencies across Placer County. As the lithium-ion battery era accelerates, the fire department is working to improve firefighter health and safety. Staff has been researching best practice decontamination procedures and collaborating with neighboring agencies to implement consistent processes for cleaning PPE, apparatus, and equipment following exposure to toxic fire gases. Fiscal year 26-27's budget includes a new program to have our turnouts professionally inspected and cleaned annually. Also included are kits and supplies to be placed on our apparatus to decrease post-incident contamination and exposure to our personnel. Our department continues to migrate towards battery-powered equipment to reduce firefighter exposure to carcinogens. We began this transition a few years ago with electric rescue tools. Last fiscal year, we replaced corded hand tools with battery-powered versions, and this year we are replacing gas-powered positive pressure ventilation fans with an electric version. All tools remain compatible with small gas-powered generators when needed, ensuring operational reliability. Our budget constraints: while the department has purchased a new engine and 2 new command vehicles in the past 3 years, the overall fleet remains aged. I've reported out at previous annual reports. The average age of our apparatus now is currently 16 years. Our primary wildland engine is 22 years old, and this is the engine that gets deployed on out-of-county assignments for reimbursable incidents. And our backup structure fire engine is 13 years old with over 106,000 miles on the odometer. It should also be noted when we purchased that vehicle, it was a little over $400,000. Current replacement cost is a little over $1 million for that now. Deferred maintenance and replacement continues to place pressure on the city's budget. Our 3 fire stations average 49 years old and require significant repairs and modernization. Some of our identified capital improvement plan needs include upgraded lighting, station alerting system, HVAC, flooring, driveways, tile and bathroom upgrades, to name a few. These improvements are essential to maintaining safe, functional facilities for our fire personnel. Our emergency response demand has steadily increased over the past decade. Higher call volume exposes our personnel to more physically demanding and hazardous situations, contributing to long-term injuries. Recent years, we have seen multiple employees out on extended injury, increasing our reliance on overtime and requiring healthy personnel to work additional shifts to maintain our service levels. This cycle increases exposure to healthy firefighter and places them in situations they may be more likely to receive an injury. Moving forward, this is a challenge that requires continued monitoring. Some of our program successes, the implementation of the sub-JOA with the Placer Hills Fire Protection District has been successful with improving our collaboration and increasing depth to both fire departments. A 6-month program review will be presented to council in the near future. We've also partnered with our police department for shared code enforcement officer duties, and that has improved efficiency, streamlined processes, and enhanced our compliance throughout our community. And finally, we added a new administrative prevention volunteer who has significantly assisted with our inspections and other related duties. And this year, she's coordinated our mandated inspection program, greatly reducing the workload on our engine company personnel. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, poop, or should I say wastewater? Good evening again, Council, Menjali Public Works Director. Tonight we're going to be talking about the divisions you see there of Public Works, sewer, transit, transportation, streets, courtyard maintenance, fleet, and stormwater. So for the sewer department, you can see the total budget for this year is $8.5 million. $800,000 of that is personnel costs. Operations is about $5 million. With the capital projects coming out this year will be just under $3 million. The primary revenue sources for this are, as you see on the screen, sewer rate revenues, connection fees, interest earning, and reserves. While the sewer rate revenue being the primary source of that, connection fees are starting to dwindle on an annual basis because it's only paid once a connection is made and Auburn is infill, and we have very few parcels left that are being filled in. From a sewer perspective, we continue to prioritize the rehabilitation of the aging infrastructure through proactive maintenance practices and strategic upgrades to the existing system. This year, staff will continue to identify addressing sewer infiltration locations through expanded CCTV efforts and by utilizing the newly installed SCADA system. The SCADA system allows us to identify locations within the city where we're getting further inflow than we would normally expect for the amount of homes that are out there. The system was put in place a few years ago, but this is the first year where we're going to put in additional monitors in locations to help us identify and prioritize our projects based off of this information. More importantly, this year we will also see a major upgrade to the Canyon lift station that is just beyond the Stagecoach entrance off of Forest Hill. This lift station serves only approximately 42 homes in that location, but it is a pivotal part of the city's infrastructure as it is right along the canyon rim, and it's very important to operations in that area. Additionally, improvements at the wastewater treatment plant will include the installation of a freshwater system. So currently, the plant is being ran mostly by water that we create from our process or small amounts that we do get from a well. That being said, once this water line is added, we're able to really make our processes more efficient in the sense that clean water helps to actually clean up our processes incredibly so. From a sewer standpoint, our greatest challenge is always going to be regulatory compliance. It is an ever-changing landscape for this. 1383 has made some changes along the way that has made it so that our practices are different moving forward. We have to find different ways to now get rid of our sludge. And the mandate for those years for that change is coming down ever quickly. They continue to push it out because for small agencies like ourselves, it is very expensive to do, and the state as a whole hasn't figured out best practices to how to make that happen. Program successes. This year, I'd have to say that, like most years with the city sewer system, we're able to put out some very important projects to the community and some that are going to save the city a lot of money long term. We had some outstanding projects. The council may remember the Aeolia Drive Sewer and Water Line project. That project was one that was outstanding for about 30 years, where it was a private line that was owned and operated by the residents there, and they could not figure out a way to fund this project. Through the council's creativity, we were able to fund the project and have the ratepayers in that location repay the sewer fund over the next 20 years with a no-interest loan, which was very exciting because it allowed us to stay regulatory compliant and not put additional burden on the residents in that location. Another major success was the asset management modernization. This allowed us to get all of our assets, stormwater and as well as sewer, into one centralized location. So this can allow us to plan for replacement and also aid us in as we move forward in making changes throughout the system. With that, we will move over to the other departments within Public Works, streets and roads, courtyard, stormwater, and general engineering. Total budget for this fund is approximately $2,700,000 of non-general fund and $2,400,000 for general fund. With the majority of that being personnel costs, operations is a large component of that, as well as capital projects. Operational priorities for this year. One of the major things that we've been trying to really push for within the Public Works Department is trying to figure out how to best serve the community with the systems that we have. Our transit facilities are kind of in limbo right now. As the city, as you guys are aware, the city has gone to a 100% on-demand transit system. So we have transit facilities out within the city that are not necessarily being utilized in a way that they once were, but they still serve a purpose. So we're going to prioritize some funds and money into upgrading the Joe Elders station, which is downtown, and needs a new roof and things of that nature. We're going to also start to put out hubs for pickup for major events. So we're going to utilize the existing transit lift stations there. And one of the major things that we're going to move forward with this year, and it's being driven by regulatory compliance, is the stormwater mapping of the system. The city has a lot of outfalls throughout the jurisdiction that are not necessarily mapped because we don't necessarily have a true stormwater program in place right now. But this year there's going to be some money expended to ensure that it's 100% in place by the end of the year or within the years to come, just to make sure that we are regulatory compliant. One of the other key things that we're going to address this year is the infrastructure design for our capital improvement program. This council will see before them, I'm not sure when when the finance director wants to bring this, but at the beginning of the next calendar year, or perhaps at the beginning of the next fiscal year, we will roll out the capital improvement program, which is almost 100% designed. We're just trying to figure out funding mechanisms at this point in time before we bring that before you. As always, the biggest challenge that we face from a public works standpoint, since it is so general fund dependent, is declining revenues. One of the biggest challenges we are facing right now is we had to remove the $500,000 general fund contribution to our streets and roads program. And since that's happened, we've watched our PCI, which is our pavement condition index, go down by a point per year since that's happened. Not the worst thing ever. We are figuring out new sustainable practices to make sure that we can keep our PCI at or increase it about a point per year. Previously, we were looking to do so about 2 points per year or staying relevant. To paint a picture, Auburn has a pavement condition index currently of about 67. The statewide, out of 100, the statewide averages for cities of this size is 78, so we're well below that. But even with that said, we are still higher than most cities regionally, if that makes any sense. We do a very good job with the practices that we do. We're not able to do as much overlay as we would like to, but we are doing a lot of sustainable practices to make sure that we keep that PCI at our current levels or raise it ever so slightly. This year, you will see along the Canyon community, we will be doing what is called a rubberized Cape seal, which is where we put down a chip seal and then come back a few weeks later to ensure that that rubberized cape goes over. It drives smooth as an overlay, but it lasts significantly longer than just slurry sealing. And it's really a good mechanism for roadway rehabilitation in areas that doesn't receive extremely heavy traffic, or it doesn't drive extremely fast. So it's a really good mechanism to use in communities such as that. An additional challenge that we're faced is the increasing cost of equipment. A street sweeper used to cost approximately $400,000. They're well over $700,000 now. And the average age of our vehicles throughout the city as a whole, I know the fire chief mentioned that his vehicles are about 16 years old, but throughout the jurisdiction as a whole is about 13 years old for all of our vehicles. We currently have 116 vehicles within our fleet that are maintained by 2 mechanics. So when you have aged vehicles in a fleet of that size, it requires a significant amount of maintenance. So that's another challenge that we currently face, but we found creative ways to make it work. Program successes over this year. We called this one a success. It came out of nowhere for us, the 414 Grass Valley Storm Drain sinkhole project. As the finance director mentioned, we are still trying to find some additional funds from our insurance policies to help repay for that, but it was a $1.4 million project and something that we didn't necessarily plan for, but we were able to turn around that project within a 2-week period of time. While the city wasn't necessarily the leading driver on the roundabout at Borland Avenue going into El Dorado County, it was Caltrans. We were a major partner in that, and getting our sewer infrastructure in place before that roundabout going was essential. And it took a lot of time dealing with Union Pacific, Caltrans, the city of Auburn, and all the other jurisdictions involved with that. There was also Kinder Morgan, who had a gas line going through that intersection, PG&E, PCWA. So a lot of coordinated effort to get that done, but it finally was done. This year, we were able to do a lot of tree trimming throughout the city, and we have a lot more planned and for next year. And the idea is to make our city as fire resilient as possible. Our annual roadway resurfacing project, which is about to kick off, as I mentioned earlier, into the canyon, you should be seeing activity on that here very shortly. This year, we were also able to see some solar improvements at the Fire Station 2 and APD. Those are fully functional online. The city is not yet receiving the benefits of that because PG&E has not turned it over. We're still waiting for their final inspection. However, we're optimistic that that should be happening here very shortly. And as previously mentioned, we put out some flow monitoring studies this year for our sewer infrastructure that is going to help aid us as we move forward with annexation in the future. So with that, I turn it back over to the finance director.
Okay, well, that wraps up the presentation. I'm happy to entertain the questions that you have.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Don Calvillo.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation, which, we do have the slide deck, so thank you very much. And I know that you coordinated it by division and so forth, so that made a lot of sense that way. Just looking at the staff report and the dollar amounts specifically, I noticed that throughout, and I'm looking at page 163 in particular, but it happens kind of throughout, that there's this transfer of dues and subscriptions. So like we're taking it, in this instance, from city council, we're removing $5,800, but then we also put it under city manager. I just wondered, I was just wondering, are we trying to consolidate all of those, or? Because there's different, I mean, I didn't know what that one was, but then I see yours, it was increased. Is that like, I didn't?
I can take that one
Yeah.
if you want. So that one in particular is the SACOG membership, the annual membership. In prior years, it was the city council budget funding that, and for whatever reason, it started being paid out of the city manager's budget a couple of years ago.
Oh,
So that was movement of that just to where the actual expenditure is occurring. The other thing that's happening with dues and subscriptions is looking across everyone's budgets and trying to put like items into like accounts. And so there's been quite a substantial cleanup over the past couple of years by the finance team to try to get everything where they belong.
okay,
So-
and that makes sense, and I
Okay.
kind of figured that that's maybe what you were doing.
Yep.
Because I saw a lot of movement, because I know, for example, we've been talking about joining the National League of Cities, and I don't know if that's budgeted in here or not.
I
'Cause
believe so.
We have a lot of dues and Cal Cities, and I mean, there's just a lot of different things. So, but we are budgeting for National League of Cities membership?
That's not that cost is pretty minimal. It's included in the other stuff that we do.
Okay.
It'll be included in this budget.
Okay, so thank you on that. And then on page 165, this is the total building inspections. It looks like, are we moving that because we're eliminating the $481,000?
Yes.
So that was just a movement?
Yes, all was moved into the planning department 100%. So we no longer have the building inspections separate as a budget. It's all now
Under
in planning.
okay.
Yes.
167 to 169, I think, on page 167, at the top, looks like it's, human resources, 65,000, that's labor negotiation? Is that what we're spending an extra 65? I see that in employee relations, we have 50,000, but then there was professional services 65,000. So I was just wondering what that was.
Yeah, so again, we're moving things around. Employee relations is now the budget where those negotiation costs
Yeah,
are
labor.
occurring.
What is the professional services then?
Professional services is just a movement from contracts. So for all of the contracts that the city has, there are some that are technically professional services agreements versus just a generic contract.
Okay.
And so that's movement, just like you saw in the subscriptions, just trying to put things where they belong.
Okay, so these would be that are related to HR activities
Yes.
then? So like a class study or a salary schedule or advertising for a position? I'm just trying to. Sorry. Because we're also, I mean, you have professional services added 65, but then you're taking away contractual services, which was 90,000. So.
Good evening, council member. Jen Leal, HR director. I don't have it in front of me exactly what it's for, but I can tell you personnel expenses. Is that what we're looking at?
No, it's professional services. So
Professional services. So
We're
that would
budgeting
be,
65,000 this year.
So that would be like CalOps that we
Okay.
post jobs on, pre-employment physicals, background checks.
Got it. Okay.
Professional services that we use outside companies to manage hiring. Trying to think of other big
And then-
cost items.
So we had a line item before in the adjusted budget that was called contractual services, and we had allocated $90,000 in the 26 adjusted budget, and we're allocating nothing there. So was it kind of just a shifting and a recalculation of what that title was? And
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we moved something over.
Yeah, so my understanding of what I'm recalling is that between the employee relations and the professional services, that's your 90,000, more or less.
Okay.
So we've just split those
Split 'em
types
up
of
and then-
contracts.
Okay. Okay, good enough. And then, so also page 169, this is under police, contractual services. Looks like we were reducing it by 54,000. I was just wondering, I mean, we were adjusted at 166 and now we're going to 100. I just was wondering, that's a pretty big decrease. I just wanted to know about that.
Right, I'm just looking really quick. I know that there was a lot of movement from contracts in police into the subscriptions, the IT subscriptions moved into
Okay,
that
like the
category.
CARTA and stuff like that. Okay, so you're
Right.
just consolidate. Okay, got it. And then, because operating, and what's operating transfers out? What does that mean? At the bottom, we had 321,000 for 2026 and then 220 for this proposed. So
Oh.
we're reducing it by 101.
That's technically a revenue in, and that's coming from our supplemental law enforcement fund. So I'm not getting at your question.
I just was wondering what that was, what that line item was. Operating transfers / out.
Oh, I see. I see.
Because we're reducing it by 100,000. I was just wondering what that was.
Yeah.
Chief, do you know?
Oh, I can explain it. So see how it's the numbering. So the police department budget on this report includes more than just general fund police department things. So
Okay.
this is Fund 77 as a cost, is an operating transfer out. Fund 77 has an expense to transfer all that supplemental law enforcement revenue that we get from the state, I think, into the police department's budget. So it's an
Okay.
expense in Fund 77, but it's a revenue in Fund 45. It's just
Okay.
really just an accounting exercise.
Okay. Okay, so that's AB 109. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see here. 177, well, on page 171, public safety building. This is under building maintenance. Public safety buildings, it looks like we're reducing it by 185,000, and I was just,
That was a one-time siding repair project at the police department. So it
Got
was
it.
a one-time project.
okay, fair enough. Okay, let's see here. 170, I think that was 1, not a 7. 179, okay, on page 179, under planning for building permits, for 2026, we show nothing, but then for 2027, we show 400,000. So we must have moved it?
That's
Because we
the-
got something for building
Yes,
permits.
That's the revenue side of building inspections. So it was, remember, we consolidated building inspections into planning.
So even though it's building permits, which I would think are different than inspections are a service and permit is if I want to do a hot water heater, I mean,
Yeah.
so it was permits equals inspections, but not every permit requires an inspection.
No, it's just where the revenue had traditionally been budgeted in the past, just in a different department that's now consolidated into one.
Okay. And then on page 181, I think that's might be where we move the building maintenance, no, let's see, the total building inspections minus 631,000. So did we move that?
Yep.
Building inspection shows up in so many different sheets.
Yes.
So what do we really, what is the budget for building inspections?
Building inspections is zero. It moved 100% into planning.
Okay, so that's why this is negative 631.
Yes.
So it's in planning as building inspections. It's just that it showed up as building inspection as its own 2 different times. So we had it in 2 different sections and now it's all under planning.
Yeah, and that's because this report has expenditures
And then revenues.
and then revenues in
Got
2
it.
different places.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you. Those were my questions. So, thank you. See, I read it all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely.
I just have some odd questions, but here they are. As far as city manager, and I think it goes to more than just the city, I see a lot of this. Can you explain what the dues and subscriptions
I
are?
just asked that.
Did you just, okay, the 30,000?
I had the same question.
Did you ask that
For mine
the city
specifically?
manager?
Well, I asked about dues and.
Okay, well, I want to know specifically, because this one's 30,000, and then the other one, the one for the city attorney is 181,000.
That's
Gary.
LexisNexis,
Gary,
right? Lex.
maybe.
So my dues and subscriptions is all kinds of stuff. It includes like the SACOG dues. It includes League of California City dues. It includes my dues for ICMA and for CCMF. It's a bunch of different stuff. So it went from 25 to 30,000 for either one of those going up, or also the transfers and the different stuff that moved from the different departments shifting over to me. It could be,
Okay.
it's a bunch of different things.
Okay, so it's, okay, and that's professional services then, what is that? Is that your professional update that you have to do? That's
No.
2 lines down.
No, professional services was split in the past. It was used partially for like contractual services, or contracting out for, I don't know, for strategic planning, for example, right? The guy that we hired for strategic planning, that
Oh.
would have been in professional services. Contract services
That would come
farther down.
under your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Contract services farther down would be contracting for, off the top of my head,
Fireworks?
fireworks would be in there. Different things though.
There you
Just what
go.
want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary, I don't know about
If you
Gary,
add all
let's see.
these up, it's quite a bit of money, and then we have Gary's. That's on page 166. It went up from 128 to 181. That's dues and subscriptions, 181,000.
That doesn't
Yeah,
sound right.
I'm looking at page 166.
You-
Can you
you're-
point us to which line?
You're looking under information technology.
Information technology.
Yeah.
That makes,
Yeah, so
under-
city
under-
attorney is above that. He's just got
Yes.
2 lines, that's it.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay, so
that's-
it's not the city attorney. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
that's okay.
Information technology. So that's, okay, why did that go up?
So again, we did a lot of movement of things that were considered contracts that were IT subscriptions, software in the cloud renewals. And because of accounting rules, we needed to move all of our software subscriptions that are based in the cloud into one account for ease of tracking. So that's why you're seeing that line item throughout go up.
Okay. And I do want to say city attorney, by the way, you went under, so thank you.
Bonus points.
And that's all I have for now. Most of my questions have been answered.
Thank you,
Previous-
Councilmember Holmes. Do you have any questions or comments?
Previous meetings.
All right, and I think mine were all covered by our wonderful councilwomen over here, so thank you very much. No action needed, is that correct, Madam Clerk? All right. Thank you so much. We look forward to our budget discussion next
Thank you.
month.
All right.
And I know we're changing, I mean, we're changing things, so thanks for, when we're going through and trying to figure it out ourselves, because we need some context, so thank you. Of course.
Wonderful. And in the interest of time, unless my council disagrees, I would like to move item 12 to our meeting June 1st. We have approval from our
Yes,
our
that's
AV
fine.
folks. Is that okay with you,
Menjel, is your
Councilmember
heart
Holmes?
broken if we continue your report?
And I would also like to defer the committee reports as well, if that's okay. All right. City manager report, will you bring us home?
Yeah, I'll just make just one thing, and then you can all read the report after that. So the next council meeting, May 25th, will be canceled because it's Memorial Day. The June 8th meeting is going to be moved up a week to June 1st. And that's it. That's all I got.
Oh, don't we have a special meeting coming up?
We do have a special meeting on May 18th.
Yes.
But that'll be 100% closed session.
Okay. And June 8th is moving to June 1st?
Mm-hmm.
May
Right.
18th.
And off that report, I would like to recognize Sherry Harris for 20 years
Yes.
of service.
Oh, wow.
Very impressive. All right, do we have any future agenda item requests?
No.
Yes, Councilmember Holmes.
This is something that I've brought up before. Hello? Oh. Well, I think it's time for us to apply for certified local government, which I believe would bring us more opportunities for grants and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Holmes. Any other future agenda items?
I'm good.
Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, staff. Thank you.
Thank you.